welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast. We are super excited about our guest today. I'm not going to delay it anymore because I really want to talk to this guy. So today we are joined by Benson Russell, a veteran video game designer with over 30 years in the industry. If you've played big cinematic story-driven games, there's a good chance you've touched something that he's shaped. Benson's credits include Uncharted series. We're talking 2 and 3, and he can correct me on some of these. The Last of Us, later Call of Duty franchise, Infinite Warfare, even a Westworld VR game. And this is just tip of the iceberg when you read his bio. I'm sure we'll get into it. These days, Benson runs his own consulting studio, Unhandled Exceptions is its name, where he helps teams diagnose why game development gets messy and how studios can ship better games with less chaos. And we're going to go beyond the usual state of the industry talk and get to in some real stuff here. We're going to talk about the decisions that hurt, the patterns he's seen in his career, and what he thinks teams should be doing right now if they want to build games that actually land. Benson, welcome to the show, man. I am excited to have you here. So,
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we're excited. We're just gonna dive in. We're gonna start with origin story. People who are unfamiliar. I did a little bit of research on you, and again, correct me on these things, but take us back to the very beginning. What was the first moment you realized you didn't just want to play games, but you wanted to make these things? And in my research, you once cited in another interview many, many years ago that you and I have something in common. You have a love for the game System Shock. Is that true?
Yeah. The original.
Yeah.
2 is okay.
Original.
2 is good, but it's the original that did it for me, even though the controls were awful.
I couldn't agree more. Did you play the remake yet?
No, everyone tells me about it. I have some friends that worked on it. It's like one of those things where you get stuck in a project and then the pile of games you have to get back through is so big. So it's like in there somewhere.
I can't imagine. Night Dive Studios did a great job with it. So when you get to it. So anyway,
that's what I've heard.
Tell us your origin story, man. How'd you get into this? What started it for you?
I mean, technically, I actually said when my parents asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? When I was like, I don't know, 7 or something, I said, I want to make video games. Like, I just said it. I'm pretty sure it wasn't serious at the time. I was a kid, but it turned out that I ended up doing that.
You had to commit.
Yeah, I had to commit. Yes, eventually. Well, it's what ended up. All right, I have a friend. His nickname is Squirrel. That's his. Everyone calls him that. I'm only allowed to. I'm one of the few people allowed to call him by his real name, Brian, because I knew him before he was Squirrel. We grew up together. He teaches at SMU College in their the Guild Hall. The
Familiar with it.
Very good program. Very good program. One of the best. So he heard John Romero was starting Ion Storm, and this was way back before this was really like, everyone was still coming out of their garages. He just left id Software and stuff. So he wrote this really interesting letter that was like, it was a story of how he's this young mage, i.e. programmer, because he heard John Romero was a D&D freak. And he wrote this entire thing about like, I am trying to open a portal to John Romero, blah, 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 blah. And then
awesome.
he just sent it. And then it got back to him, and Romero wrote back in the same way, but said you need to answer a bunch of questions basically, or come out for an interview or something like that. And that's how he got a job at Ironstorm. And I was like, well, if he did it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Or if he got into it, said I'm going to try and get into it. So I started making maps for like Quake 1 and a couple of them got noticed. And the person who founded 2015, the main guy, Tom Kardecko, he found my levels, and I just got this weird email. It's like this, like just one. It was like what did he say? It was like a 2-sentence email, just like, hey, you want to come work, or something like, you want to go do work. And it was something really weird, like, you want to make video games or whatever. And I'm like, what kind of windowless van ice cream truck is this shit?
Candy.
So, yeah. What's your? Should I swear or not?
No, totally. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure. I have the foul of mouth, so syndrome.
That's okay. You're good.
Whatever. So, but sometimes you have to be careful because you go in some places. You're like, oh, family show, and I'm like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We're
but anyways, yeah. So he reached out with like the most. You want some candy? Like freaking email, and I was like, I just said, okay, let me answer this guy, and yeah, a bunch of us. Ritual Entertainment at the time was making Sin. This is before Half-Life got released, or
I remember
around the same time.
So you said Ion Storm. Was he working on Daikatana yet? Or was
he worked with Tom Hall, so he was on Anachronox.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
They're both in the same building, so he got to see Daikatana's being made. But
gotcha. You just mentioned Ion Storm, and that's the one that seems to pop in my head. But dude, I remember Sin. It's a good game. Yeah, it was fun.
So they were looking for someone to make the add-on pack, and Tom Kodurka had an in with Harry something that was their biz guy at the time, and basically said like they were auditioning teams, if you will. So he said, yeah, if you put together a team and just make a little something, we'll look at it and we'll see if we'll pick you. And we did like a little 2-week Starship Trooper cheapy demo thing with like a couple of rooms and a bug and a weapon, and showed that we could do this. And we got the gig, and yeah, that was it. We made Wages of Sin, the add-on pack for it. And then,
so good.
Yeah. And then that took off from there. And then from that, we got EA was looking for a company to make a PC Medal of Honor. And from what I heard, they approached id Software, and id Software, or Todd Holland said at the time, biz guy of id Software, recommended us. And we're like, you know of us?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Like, all right, really thank you.
That's crazy.
And then the D-Day level, and that was my big claim to fame. So
I was gonna say D-Day level is huge. When I read that you designed that's awesome, man. I
did all the script and gameplay work, and the one that pushed it to get it into the game, and like Steve Fukuda did he did all the geometry for it.
That's awesome.
And of course, the animators did all the awesome stuff to capture the feel and the vibe of it, and the VFX and all that kind of stuff. So it's team effort. It's like, maybe I was you can call me the point person. You know that you know.
You were a key individual contributor for sure, though. I'm sure on that. So you're making these levels. Like I remember, I would twiddle around with like making levels in Counter-Strike, and were you like you reached out to them? How did they get to know your levels? Were you submitting them? Were you posting them somewhere? You know, back then you could download levels and things like that. How are you getting your levels out there to be seen? So they wanted you to come work for them.
Yeah, back then there were like just certain. They weren't. It's post BBS days. I'm trying to remember. It's not because
internet was early still. Yeah.
Yeah, it was early, but it wasn't like it was like World Wide Web 1.0 or if that. You know, World Wide Web pre. It was all
Yahoo
1.0.
Yahoo searches.
And stuff like that. So there were some websites that were catering to custom levels, and I just uploaded my levels to them, and they got well reviewed. That was it at the time. Yeah. Nowadays it's a nowadays it's a you go to college for this thing. There's like
it's a different game. Yeah, dude.
You can just download Unreal. You know,
I know, man. You're in Texas now. Insane. I was obsessed. Remember Origin Studios? I was obsessed when in the 90s. I wanted to work for them because I was a huge Wing Commander fan, Privateer fan, and like and they had community forums and things like that. But I think they were in Austin, Texas back then before EA bought them, if I remember correctly. I believe
that's correct. I think it was they were Austin. Yeah. Other companies were up in the Dallas area, like oh god darn it, Ensemble, is that the name of the game? They did the I think that's right.
I think that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
They made one of the fun RTS games that was like Civilization-esque, Age of Empires.
Age of Empires, that's it.
Yeah, I love that series. That's great.
That's a great game.
Yeah, they were here. Ritual was here, obviously. id Software's here, and then Rogue was here. Gearbox eventually formed here. Yeah, so is
there still a presence there in Texas? Do they still have developers there? Like
Gearbox is still here. Austin is, I'd say, bigger.
Yeah,
but you still have id Software's up here in Dallas. You got Gearboxes up here in Dallas. You know, there's some other ones too.
They do QuakeCon there, I think, still, don't they, in Texas? Yeah, that's
still
what
going.
I thought. So,
yeah, went to one of the first ones of those way back. Like we when my buddy Squirrel got the job and he was living down here, we went to the QuakeCon, and me and my friend, being the friends of his that were we were in Chicago at the time, that's where I grew up. We're like carrying computers onto the plane, like old school LAN party style, like just carrying this crap.
I've seen the photos. I bet that was awesome.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like I can't. Nowadays, you just have like a little tiny box, or your Steam Deck or something. Who knows?
Yeah, and you have like 5,000 games on it. Well, I've been
Wonderful.
hogging you. I'm sorry, Doug. I'm going to let you talk. I'm so sorry. I got overly excited.
No,
there.
you're doing
You get
good.
the next one. Keep it up.
You took us through how you got into the industry. Was that more structured, or did you go for scrappy and opportunistic jobs as they came along?
I'm usually I try to be a job stable person. So like I was at 2015 until there was basically, we shipped Allied Assault. The company kind of imploded from within because a lot of us just didn't like working for Tom, unfortunately. And also, just in case people didn't know, he has passed away. That's an unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm sad. So not to speak ill of the dead person, but yeah, he was a little difficult to get along with. He had some personality issues. So 3 or 4 of us went to Ritual because we were friends with Ritual from working on the add-on pack, and we wanted to move to Dallas anyways. The rest formed Infinity Ward and then stayed up in Tulsa, originally making it was supposed to be Spearhead, I believe. I think it was Spearhead. They were going to work on the first expansion pack for Medal of Honor. EA kind of gave that to him because Medal of Honor did so well. And then EA tried to pull the biggest dick move of the century by trying to force them to buy them out. This story's circulated around a couple times. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard it, but like
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. The story I heard from Grant at the time when he told me was like, well, all right. I was a little bit of a player in that because I was working at Ritual. We were making Elite Force 2 for Activision. And they, I'm talking to Vince, talking to Grant, talking to my friends, and they're telling me, it's like, yeah, EA's trying to screw us. They're saying if they don't let us purchase us as a company, and basically they weren't offering anything. It was like they basically, we'll just do cost of move raising. Because he's like, well, we just shipped a game. What do you mean we're not worth anything?
Yeah.
And he's like, you're technically a new company because you're not the same company that made the game. So yeah, it was a total.
That's EA being EA trying to.
It was, and basically I went to Tom Mustaine, my boss that owned Ritual. I said, hey, all the 2015 guys that went in Infinity Ward, they're getting screwed. And he said, oh, hell no. And he went and talked to his contact at Activision and said, you want the guys that just made Medal of Honor? They're getting screwed over by EA.
Like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take them.
And then basically EA said, Activision said, heck yeah, threw a little lifeline under the table, said, don't worry, we got you. And then, that's when they were able to tell EA, well, we're going to say no. Yeah. But what I remember, Grant was telling me how that conversation went, and he was saying like, the day they called, he was talking with them, and he said, yeah, we're not going to take your offer, because also EA was loaning them all the machines, right? Oh, and so that was the other thing, is like the EA provided all the equipment, the networking, all that kind of stuff too. And he's like, the guy was saying like, okay, well, we're going to come down to pick up our machines, but also we're going to talk to every single one of your employees and offer every single one of them a job. So anybody who doesn't want to go. And he goes, you're not doing that at all. It's like, and he's like, what did he say? He said, you can come down here, but you're not going to get past the front doors. We're not letting you in. And he got up and like this, again, I'm not privy to the conversation. This is the story I was told. He said, was it apparently he got really belligerent and was like, that's our source code and those are our machines and our stuff. And we're going to come down there and we're going to poach whoever the frick we want. It's like, you can't do anything about it. And then so Grant was just like, you're right. It is your machines. And this is your code base, and they'll all be waiting for you on the sidewalk when you get here. Fuck off. And he just hung up the phone on him.
Yeah.
Apparently that didn't go over too well, but it's just ironic how it's like that move, as short-sighted as it was, it would just created the biggest competition, right? That's what Medal of Honor could have been had they worked together and, allowed the team to foster and like take care of them and stuff. It's just, like those kind of deals that happen blow my mind.
They do. That's like the industry, though. I mean, Sony wouldn't have done what it did if it didn't go awry with its agreements that it had early on with Nintendo. They were going to do the partnership, and that felt. It's so funny how these things start like that. So there's a lot of stories behind that. But you had mentioned that you try to have staying power in an industry that's known to be relatively volatile. Even at that time, I mean, it's
Sure.
kind of
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
spin up, work, spin down. Was there ever a point or a moment when you just thought like, this might not work for me, or you were worried? How'd you deal with that? Like the stress of trying to have that staying power in an industry like that?
Well, so yeah, I stayed at 2015, and then I took the job at Ritual, knowing that was happening. And then after we shipped the first game there, one of the projects that we were supposed to get with Activision it just fell through. Activision, for whatever reason, decided to not make the project. And so Ritual had a whole bunch of layoffs, and that's when I got laid off. But I didn't feel too bad because I was like, we just worked for EA, and I was on the Medal of Honor team. And so yeah, I would reach out to them. They're like, oh, hell yeah, we'll bring you on board. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And so that worked out good. And that's what brought me to LA. And then I think it's one of those things where it's like, once you get enough years under your belt, and ship enough titles, especially at that time, like trying to find people that had experience or at least the tribal knowledge of making games, you feel a little more confident because it's like, okay, well, more people are coming into the industry, but I now have I've got X number of titles under my credit, or X number of titles under my belt, and I've got this, I've got this much work that I've been doing. So it wasn't too difficult to find something new, especially once you move to California, right?
Because it's the hotbed.
LA was the hot.
You throw a rock,
might still be. Yeah. So, I didn't feel too bad about it. Honestly, it's now is more the freaky time than ever. I think, take the original consoles out of it. Like take the, Atari, ColecoVision, and television, because that went up and then it had a crash, and then
the crash in the 80s. Yep.
Yeah. Nintendo came, and then all of a sudden it went up. Until now, there really hasn't, at least in my mind, there is nothing that I would consider an actual, what do you want to call it?
Existential threat?
Depression, like the Great Depression. Like how the Great Depression hit the country, and it hits, and there's always a similar event that happens in certain industries as they go bust and boom.
Yes.
No, the video game industry has been like this the whole time, and now it's the first time it's like from an internal perspective, like as in terms of like finding jobs and stuff like that. Now it's the first time it's kind of gone a little bit more in that regard. So I'd say now is the scarier time for a lot, unfortunately.
Scary time for a lot of things. We'll get into that. Yeah. Actually, that plays perfectly into your next question that you have. Actually, that's a perfect cue up.
Yeah. Talking about when you entered the industry back when you first started, can you explain more how it's fundamentally different now, and maybe build into AI? I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
Don't you get too far ahead there, Doug. Don't want to see what you're doing.
Okay. I finish.
Little Doug.
Jump ahead by going through AI, but getting a job now versus getting a job back then, I guess, in developing and coding and all that.
Breaking in, yeah.
It's breaking in back then was more difficult. You had to either build a portfolio with free tools that were released, or especially like there wasn't, like Blender wasn't a thing, so a lot of people had digital copies of Max and Maya, back then, from various reasons, and you use that to generate your portfolios. Or if you're a video game, or if you're a level designer, you download Quake tools, Doom tools, Half-Life tools. You're trying to make stuff, and then you just kind of, like, when those companies would open up positions, you just try to get your resume in there. You try to get your foot in the door. You go to networking events. You try to meet people. It was a very different. I mean, you can argue the same paths, they always exist, right, to some extent, but it's that was kind of the only way. You either make friends of friends, you get in through QA, get in through, some other mechanism of like making your own portfolio or whatever, and then you just hope you take you get an internship or whatever, and get your first product under your belt, and then you just start going from there. I mean, now I'm trying to think. Just 2 years ago, when I was last in a position to help with hiring, it's like, there's a flood of resumes now because you have college courses. I mean, that people are doing now. You've got free engines people can use.
Yep.
Like, I'm sitting there looking at Unreal. I'm like, that motherfucker was $2 million if you wanted to play with it back in the day. Like,
now it's
here's
free.
here's $2 million up front. Yeah. $2 million up
the
front.
licensing cost was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to play with the technology because also everyone kept the technology close to the vest because it was that.
They did.
Well, this is our engine. This is our secret sauce, and ours is different than everybody else. And now everyone's like, nope, here.
Yeah, because they found out that it builds like a flywheel effect and people learning it. And the question, true, is like near and dear to me. I have my son is actually going to school for game development, and I worry about like he's going through Full Sail, and he's now I see the programs. I was a little worried about looking at comparative programs. I see what they have him doing, and being at least in the tech industry myself and being a gamer myself, like it's interesting to see the stuff that he's building in his portfolio. I thought they were like I was a little worried they were gonna just like drop him into Unreal Ed, but because he's interested in like the hard coding, he doesn't want to do the sexy graphics and all. He wants to do like the hard coding, the engine coding, the logic.
He wants to do low level. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good choice because there's not many of those.
Well, all these kids have been dropping out of his program, and he's in there. And because many of them, I think they romanticize. We all do this in certain industries, right? You romanticize something, you get in there, and you realize, oh crap, there's some stuff that's tough about this, and you really kind of determine, if you're going to stick with it or not. And for him, we're hitting that phase where he's getting to the tail end of it. And it's like they do job fairs with, his school and that sort of thing. And he'll have a good portfolio and he's got some good technical jobs. But in back of my mind, I'm like, the industry's changed so much from back from when you were talking about. And then, of course, as Doug hinted at, you have a lot of different points of entry with people and what they're learning and how they're building portfolio, and then the whole AI thing, which we'll talk about. So, I mean, to you, it's still got to be an element of, you still got to build a good portfolio to have something to show that you can prove that you can do certain things. And it's in getting it out there and getting it in front of them. I would assume that still probably rings true to a certain extent, I would hope.
And then there's also like interviewing, because a lot of those, especially the technical side, they're going to ask you the questions. And like these are usually longer interviews where it's like, hey, here's a problem. Write me pseudocode, or how would you like work out through it and how it's going to be. But also one thing I should have mentioned earlier too is the industry is a lot more specialized. So there's more
niches. Yeah.
Niches there's a lot more roles to fill. So that's what I'm saying. If he's going into like low level programming, with the exception of the conversation of AI that I know we want to have in a minute, ignore that for right now. Low level engine programmers are just hard to get in general. There's not many of them because of the reason you just said. It's a very difficult
slog. Yeah.
It's a slog. It's a very difficult mindset to get around, and a very different type of coding to understanding the interface with the hardware and all that kind of stuff. So it's those are the kind you find a good low level programmer, like that's your gold, and they get paid well.
Yeah.
So
he's learning about the team leadership part too. It's like, so for example, we've all been working for a while. You put on a team, you're going to have certain levels of commitment and work ethics. And he's like, oh, it drives me nuts. So-and-so is supposed to we had code lock at this date, and they didn't do that. And it's just driving him insane. And he got to a point where he was like doing everybody's work for him. And I was like, dude, because
that's not a good idea.
I'm like, and that's right. We had to have that talk. We're like, dude, you can't do that in your career because people will take advantage of you and then they'll take credit for your work. So we had to have that sit down and that talk. So he's learning about those team dynamics.
It's a double. I mean, that's one case that could happen. The other case is people don't want to work with you because they're like, well, you're too difficult. Yep. There were people I've worked with that have done similar things on the design side where it's like, I've had my scripts written by people and you come in and you're like, why did you rewrite this? And they're like, because I thought this was a cleaner way. I'm like,
he's right into that. He's right into that. That's you're spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, this is a creative industry. So yes, even though it's technical, that you just erased work that I did to put into the game to make it your own. And from as a manager myself, having led teams like that, if I ever found an employee doing that, yeah, I'd have to tap him on the shoulder and say, don't ever do that again.
Yeah. You got to have respect. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a respect thing. And then like, it's also you have to, and I get it. He's young. Believe me, I was whenever I go to an interview, I have to apologize to all the people I've worked with before. It's like, I had a lot of growing to do at the time. And the creative industry is one of the more difficult industries to work in as a team. At least, because like if you're making cars or you're making an app or something, you have someone that's in charge of the project and says, you're going to go write this UI. You're going to go write this backend system. You're going to write, it's like, it's all very known. You don't know that. Video games being creative, it's like you're finding a lot of this stuff on the fly. And so you have to have this ability to listen and be open to people's ideas and also have your ideas like gone through the torture test and
it's discovery, and you have to do a give and take. So what would you tell yourself if you would go back to your young self? Is there anything, your first day in the industry, or anything that you would just warn yourself about, or a lesson that you would like to fast track for yourself that you learned just with these team dynamics and just the creative process of building these things? Because they're complex.
I'd shut the fuck up.
Listen.
I tell myself that too. Yeah.
What I just said, it took me a while to, you're getting into a whole other aspect of something that the journey I've had to go on as well, just in terms of like therapy and all kinds of other stuff and learning about human behavior and what causes certain types of behaviors to happen and why people interact with each other a certain way. I get it now because I can look back on it and say, oh, when somebody criticized my work because of the way I was raised and various things that happened, the way I felt like I belonged or had a place in the world was through being good at the things I was good at. So if somebody came and made a suggestion to alter something I worked on, that would feel to me like, oh crap, that's I didn't get it right out the gate, and now that felt threatening to me. So I would be very much like, oh, I don't want to change it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like I could be standoffish on things like that. I know I'm not the only one. I've met plenty of people who do the same thing.
Oh yeah. Plenty of people do that. Yeah.
I know where it comes from now. And it took a long time, even before I understand where it comes from, to just be like, you know what? It's cool. This is games and art are about iteration. So yeah, it was when I worked at Naughty Dog and I was doing all the combat encounters and stuff, where I took over for someone that left after the first Uncharted. Yeah, it was very much a, hey, can we try this encounter a different way? And I'm like, all right. I literally scrap the entire encounter out, like delete everything and I'd save it off from the version control.
Sure.
Not that stupid, but because I'm sure someone who's going to hear that's going to be like, you mother dumb shit. Anyways, but yeah, it's like, I would very much like, okay, I'm going to save this off and let me just start from scratch. And I just dump it. And I learned that at Naughty Dog through this process of being in a situation with a company that actually values iteration and understands that, because that's also that's a trend the industry was going through. Like the studios that were getting it right were the ones that understood the iterative process and how to do that. And there were bigger studios that at the time. It's different now. So I'm talking way back in the time when I first started working there, it was kind of top down where it's like, this is what you're doing. And you could make suggestions, but there wasn't a lot of iteration. It was like design it on paper, plan it out, and go build it. And then like, why does this suck? You didn't plan it good enough, or you didn't design it on paper good enough. So, and there are plenty of other studios that were doing it that way at the time. And it's like, I'd say that was a good thing that's happened, is the concept of understanding how important iteration is to the process. Just about everywhere I go now is like, yeah, we have to try stuff. We have to prototype it. We have to iterate on it and stuff. However, to talk about it at another question I think that's coming up, that's also a curse, because it's called, there's a cognitive bias called scope neglect. In fact, I just put a LinkedIn article up about it yesterday. It's the doomsday clock. So I can go into that one too. That's a fun topic, that a way to think about time and money. and how it's spent in games. But anyways, scope neglect is the concept of like, we as humans have a very difficult time understanding large things, and then understanding the relationship between multiple large things. So you might be able to understand like, hey, there's 10 birds. Okay, you might be able to visualize 100 birds, but now it's like, what about 1,000? What about 10,000? Same thing with like, what's the difference between $1 million and $10 million? It's like, oh, I know it's a lot, but you know what I mean? Like your brain gets in this fuzzy state about that stuff. That's called scope neglect.
Yep.
And that's what it can lead to. So one of the problems with iteration that we get into is like, you think about it from a video game, when we're making video games nowadays, you're dealing in timescales. That's, in AAA, you're dealing in timescales of 5 to 7 years nowadays. You're dealing with budgets, tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. And you're also looking at potential profit of 10 to hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, and if you're trying to go live service, then it's an even worse syndrome because it's like infinite money. I mean, that's literally, you're just like, there's no limit to how much we can make. Look at League of Legends.
Yeah.
So you get to this problem where like, we've kind of gotten to this state of like, we know we need to find the fun and figure out what the game is before we move into production on it, because that's where we always would. That's the way it was when I started. Was those are the problems we get into, the top down whatever, where it's like do this and write design on paper, and then you put it in. You put all this time in the game, and it sucks, and you're like, well, how are we gonna fix it?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, but the other problem now is we can get into these cycles of just like, oh, now I'm iterating on this thing until I find what I think is fun. But I haven't really given myself a clear goal of what the game is supposed to be. Because most games, well, pretty much every game in existence has always been like some person has had an idea and said, I want to make a game about waffles, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, what's fun about that? Well, let's go start prototyping stuff. Yeah. And then somebody else comes. And then the thing is that just leads to one idea after another, after another, after another.
And it creeps. Yeah. And it's aimless at that point. Yeah.
Well, it's not only creeps, it's like at some point you'll find some stuff that's fun and then you have to go, all right, how do we make a game out of this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that's why my big thing now with the consulting and stuff is like, well, to me, the number one thing you have to define first and foremost is your player fantasy. Because the only reason we as humans play games or interact with art is the emotional aspect of it. And all games have a fantasy. It could be as simple as Pac-Man, which is like, I'm collecting things and I'm trying to beat a high score. And there's a simple story around it of like, oh yeah, the ghosts are trying to get me. I'm running away from the ghosts. It's like, it could be very simple. It could be very complex where it's The Last of Us, where it's like, the fantasy on that one is, it's a father-daughter redemption story that tests the limits of how far one can go before they are no longer redeemable.
Right? So the opening of that game wrecked me. As a father, I like you guys, you and your storytelling, you bastards. I was just like, you pulled me in. Like at the very beginning of that game, when my mouth was just open.
Yeah.
And I was just shocked.
That's Neil.
Setup. You guys hooked me so hard. And then I was committed, and I have been committed ever since. So, but
you see,
that narrative storytelling,
that's
style,
what I'm saying. The story is the fantasy. Like it was like, take all the gameplay elements, like remove the story out of it.
Yep.
There's nothing special about any of the gameplay elements. Everything's been done before. And it's just done well. It's not. That's not a negative. It's not a negative to say like it's a stupid game, but all of the mechanics are there to serve the player fantasy, which is the story. Yeah. And you get a very tight experience that you get sucked into, and the characters match the story. Everything. It's. I mean, I think there's an argument. I think that's part of the argument is why like there's a fall off when people talk about The Last of Us 2. Is it's not to say that it's a bad game, but the story and the player fantasy wasn't as compelling. It did things that people didn't like.
Well, so I couldn't agree more. And Doug, I'll let you get to your question because it kind of ties into what we're talking about here. But for me, as a creator, I'm a writer, and that's what I love doing. I love writing fiction, so I love story. When I'm DMing a game, you ask Doug, he's like, "You're a pretty narrative, story heavy DM," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I love the story." And you are right, because when you look at the second one. The issue was it was so compelling at the beginning with the redemption story between the father and daughter and loss and all of that grieving. It was so heavy. The second one was about vengeance, and it wasn't you got it. The setup of how they did it. I'm not. If you haven't played it, you should play it or watch the TV show. I guess. But the whole thing with Abby feels a little bit more less intense in that you get the motivations, but you just weren't as vested. And I think it's because of the story when you look at it from a fiction standpoint. So
100%. It's because the same thing. It's like they took the mechanics and they expanded them. They offered some more options, but
they did. They improved upon some things, but yeah.
I mean, one of the big complaints one of the big complaints that is said about it is it's too long for the mechanics can't support a game that long.
Yeah, it was long.
And part of that is also the story, because the story loses its ability to be compelling and draw you in there. And it's not. Now, here's the thing the thing I always talk about in this specific example, because you're right. The Abby thing was an experiment. I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to get you to empathize. They were trying to empathize with the person that you were trying to that you were going to get revenge on, and show that, well, in reality, there is no antagonist and protagonist. They both suck. Right? I don't think players enjoy that.
Yeah,
I don't think most people like those stories. And the other thing is, if you're going to do a revenge story, that is antithetical to it. Because a revenge story means you need to have a very clear, defined antagonist that, and especially with the way it happened. And by the way, I think you can tell people it's been long. Yeah. It's been years now. If they haven't figured this out by yet,
go play the damn game.
Yeah, play the game or watch the second season. It's one of those things where it's like, I just have to say it for the example. Sorry, you killed off one of the most beloved characters in the entire game.
Absolutely.
That is going to encourage. That's a great way to start the revenge process. The last thing anyone's going to want to do is to be like, oh, you want me to play as the person that did the killing so I can empathize with them? They're like, fuck
that
no.
was a little that was weird to me because
Yeah.
when they jumped you into Abby and you're playing whole chapters as Abby, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's okay. But it took you out of it because you had been with Ellie and Joel that entire flow outside of early in the beginning of the first game. And then now you're breaking to it was a bit jarring. It really was. I think you're spot on.
That to me is, I think, where the failure happens. And it's not failure. Obviously, the game did well, and it's very well made, and it's
a great game. But
we're commenting on
critique,
this is commenting about the areas why I think people say it falls short compared to the first, or why people didn't like it as much. Is that's it. The player fantasy didn't. You can argue that the story is the player fantasy, and therefore the way the story was architected did not support that fantasy as well. You can make a revenge fantasy. You absolutely can. And if you want to make it so that way you've got a little bit of empathy towards the bad guy, take the Thanos approach.
Yes.
Right? Where it's just like, okay, Thanos is clearly a freaking, like, you understand where he's coming from and and you can empathize with the problem he's trying to solve. But he's fucked in the head, and what he's doing is clearly evil.
He's doing bad things. Yeah,
it's like he has to be stopped.
Yeah, so like the Joker. The Joker has reasons.
The Joker's the same thing. Like the Joker's he's a nut job. He's a very interesting character. You're like, I'm afraid of what he's going to do, but I'm also super intrigued by him because of the way he is. And it's not that he's necessarily wrong. Like the core, if you go down to the core thing of like, this is the problem with this city, right, that I'm trying to fix. You just don't agree with what his actual version of the fix is.
Yeah, his approach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And Doug, I'll let you jump in, Doug, because I keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We're on a roll. I'm kind of going back a little bit of when you start a new project, what anchors you first? What do you focus on? I guess the mechanics, the emotion, story systems, or something else.
You mentioned the narrative.
Yeah. Well, now with where I'm at now, any new project I would go with is the first thing is the player fantasy. What is it you want to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to sell the player on of the fantasy they're going to do? And even if you have, and it doesn't mean you can't start with that. What I was talking about, where we tend to start with a collection of ideas and then we blow them up and be like, well, now what do we do with it? And then it becomes a mismatch. And then the games that succeed are the ones that kind of happen to throw it all together in a way. But it's kind of like you can tell there's certain games where you're like Fallout 70 or Fallout 4, where you're like, why am I building? That doesn't make any sense.
Confused me. Yeah.
It's like, why is it here?
It didn't need to be in there. It didn't need to be in there.
Because like the fantasy is you're surviving a post-apocalyptic world and you're exploring it, and creating. You're not here to rebuild the planet per se.
Yeah, I felt like they did it just because it was maybe, and I don't know. I'm not Todd Howard.
Oh, of course,
yeah. But you said yourself, sometimes you build something cool, and it's like, we can do this. How can we? And it was cool, but that didn't fit the game. It honestly made more sense in Fallout 76, the online one,
you get to show people your creations then. Fallout 4, I love that game. I've got about 1,000 hours probably. That's what Steam tells me at least. I've got a ton. But yeah, I don't see it as much in Fallout 4 as 76, because 76, then you're building something someone else can see.
Yeah.
And that's
purposeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, I can give you another example. So that's what I mean by that's a mechanic that doesn't support the fantasy. And it feels odd and out of place.
It does.
And that's where it's like, huh? But if you look at it in Starfield, right? Because Starfield, you are a pioneer on the frontier of space. That's the fantasy. So it's like, well, now I have to build settlements and I have to build resource outposts because I'm pioneering, I'm frontiering, right? And that's where the mechanic can fit.
They didn't put that in there, though. You can make awesome ships in the creator space and in missions and things like that with their creator tool, which is pretty cool.
Wait, you never did the base building?
I never did. I don't remember doing it. Well, it was like my home, and I could add decorations.
No. You can make entire settlements in that game.
Yep.
To be fair, Doug's played through it. I've not beat it. It was one of those things where I'm a huge No Man's Sky by Hello Games. I'm a huge. Yeah. So to me, like, I also had it in my head that, like a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Starfield fan, but it didn't stick with me like the prior ones had. And I think I had it in my head. I wanted it to be a certain thing like a lot of people did. I didn't know what, but whatever that was, it didn't hit. But other space sim games were scratching that itch at the time for me. So I didn't stick with it quite as long. So now that I know that, I'm definitely going to go back. In fact, what's hilarious, I always keep this on my desk. Doug got me this once for Christmas. It's like the chip that you have in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the crit chip. So, yeah, I love the game. But, yeah, I'm going to go back and mess with it then.
It's one of those things where it's like, so like, for example, they did it in a cool way where you don't have to do it. It's not to say that a mechanic has to be a must-do thing. I like the fact they have these optional mechanics. The example is just more like, it makes sense why I want to go make these little settlements and stuff so they're mining gases and stuff because I'm a pioneer. That's what I do. Now, I think the stickiness can be like, could just go back to, well, the player fantasy wasn't what you thought it was, right? Like it's not just because you have a compelling player fantasy, it doesn't mean it's going to be compelling to everybody. You still are going to have an audience, right? It doesn't, the idea of it is not to say I have unlimited potential. It's like, I think that's how you get the most bland game on the planet. You need to pick a fantasy that's going to go after, and it's going to have a built-in audience. You just have to figure, am I painting myself in a corner where I have the most narrow and niche audience on the planet? Or am I giving myself enough room here to have people come in and make a good amount of sales and be happy?
Yeah, it's a balancing act. Yeah,
totally, it's a balance. Movies and stories all have to do the same thing in that regard.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question you were asking? Oh, you're asking the start of the game. So how I go about making a game. That's where that came from. Player fantasy to me is the most crucial. And then once you get that tagline, then you can start filling in the details of it, I call it, which is like,
from there.
Yeah.
It's like, is it first person, third person, isometric? What's the style of game? Is there a setting? Is there a story? Is it going to be a story-based game? Or is the story the main aspect of the game? Or is it a secondary aspect? Because that's what I mean. If it's a story-based game, the story is your fantasy. If it's like, that's the difference between Uncharted and Last of Us. At least the first three Uncharted. The fourth Uncharted became more like The Last of Us, where the story was the fantasy. But the first three Uncharted, the fantasy is you're a modern-day Indiana Jones treasure hunter.
Absolutely.
And so the story was there to support that, right? So you had all the elements of it, like, I have a cast of characters that I constantly interact with. They all represent, each of these characters, like a good story, represents different emotions and different aspects of what I want to feel as the player. I'm going to do some globetrotting, and then we thought about like, third person makes sense for that because I'm going to be doing all this adventure stuff. So it's like, I want to see my character in third person and see all the interactions that's going to happen. It's, you fill out those details and then you can start getting to work on like, well, what's my core mechanics? All right. Well, now we can take some time to iterate on the core, and you can always use that fantasy as your razor. So the idea is you can sit there and say, if somebody comes in and says, I like this mechanic, you can say, okay, how does it support the player fantasy? If the way they originally envisioned it doesn't support the player fantasy, can you make it do that? Because obviously, if somebody comes in, if like the joke we always had in Uncharted was like, all right, jetpacks, we're doing jetpacks. It's kind of a whatever silly joke.
Come in every game,
yeah,
exactly. But obviously that doesn't fit. And sure, we could have found a way to put it in the story. People would have, I think it would have broken the immersion, because the moment you get it, no matter how much we would try to sell that from a story perspective, you're like, why the fuck is Drake flying around in a jetpack? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah. And then now we have enemies flying in. It's like, okay, this is jump the shark.
I always think of James Cameron, the director. He always said, you have to kill your darlings, meaning there are certain things you want to do, but if it doesn't serve the story, you got to sacrifice that just for the leanness. So.
Exactly.
Right, Doug,
and that's,
I'm gonna let you go next, Doug.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and that's exactly what story is to movie, the player fantasy is the games. It's the same thing. It's 100%. So that's, to me, is that's why it's so critical. Is you have that, you run it as your litmus test, you make sure everything supports it, and now you can run, and you can also filter like the amount of things. If we had, like, I was saying what the fantasy is for Uncharted and The Last of Us, we didn't work that way at Naughty Dog. This is a concept I'm trying to now spread as a realization from my journey over 30 years in this industry, is that this is what I feel is the most important element and what makes a game successful or not, and gives it the best chance of success. And if we had done that, I think there are certain rabbit holes we went down that we just wouldn't have gone down, and that's time that we could have saved.
Yep. Efficiencies.
Yeah. And to me, that's why it's so important. I mean, hell, the last studio I was at, before I decided to go into consulting, it was the same thing, where it was a collection of gameplay ideas of like, I want it to feel like this game, I want to have this kind of gameplay, but it's got to have this thing, and here's this concept behind it. And we were trying to mesh it all together, versus there was a real easy player fantasy that once I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, this is the fantasy. And just by saying that, you're like, well, then why aren't we working on X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. It gives you a North Star. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I call it, is a North Star. So it's, you want to know how, that to me is the place you got to
start there. That makes total sense. And actually that cues up perfectly, Doug, for your question, actually.
It is. And I've talked about this a lot on the show, and I have to give the line of, I'm the consumer, I'm not technical at all, I know nothing about programming, all that stuff. The question I always ask is, it seems to me, as the consumer, not a professional, not anything though, Super Nintendo, everything before never got updates. We look at everything now, we get bug fixes, we get updates, all that stuff. Can you kind of explain what the shipped first modern games need updates versus the perspective back in the day, if that makes sense?
Modern day now is such a shit show. I think that's another problem. Like a big issue. Well, this bleeds into a wider topic of why is our industry cooked at the moment, or what's going on, right, in that industry. And like, an easy analogy I can say is like, the moment the cost of goods goes up, your potential market shrinks, and the consumer itself gets more discerning, right? So it's like, if you're going to pay more money for something, you want to make sure you're getting value for your dollar. And if those things become more expensive, you're going to buy less of them, and you're going to be a lot more picky about when you buy it. So the moment they jump from $60 to $70 is like, oh, that's a problem. And then also the next generation of consoles, they're all more expensive than the outgoing one because of inflation and all that stuff. That automatically is going to shrink some things. But then on top of that, as an industry, we've been doing so poorly on how we manage our time and our efficiency, based on the previous topic we just talked about, the fantasy and all that stuff. So we're shipping games that are busted. So I look at it like, if I walk in, if I'm going to pay Porsche money, I want a Porsche, right? If you give me a Porsche for Porsche money, I'm happy. So that's why some games Like somebody was making a prediction that GTA 6 might actually be the first game to push the $100 barrier, as in the base title will be $100.
Well, yeah,
I've heard that.
Yeah. Because it will be their reputation precedes them. All the games that's come before, and all the games that have come before, up through 5 is like everyone loves them. Right now, people are dying to get into that world. It's a fantasy people enjoy playing. So that can make sense. It's like, yeah, you can have a few of those titles, but then you all of a sudden get like,
Word.
Well, that's a bad player fantasy for one. But then you also have the problems of like Borderlands 4, for example, was buggy. And like, there's tons of games where it's like, I got to wait for the first month until I can get my frame rate back and all my blah, 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 blah. And it's like
more common. I mean,
well, now you're paying Porsche money and you're getting a Chevy.
Yeah.
It's like that pisses me off as a consumer. It's like, you're making me pay top dollar and you're giving me this busted thing. That's a problem. So that to me is like the first thing we got to sort is like, if you're going to charge $70 a game, get it together. You cannot release this buggy stuff. That's one of the first things.
Or at least level set expectations. Oftentimes, like within Steam, it's common to do the early access stuff and try to build, and at least that, well, it's not done. Some developers are doing that slow roll a go-to-market kind of strategy, but you are right, because it forces you into this whole, well, do we get it stable and patch versus you have the timeline. And if you've meandered and didn't know your North Star, you've wasted all this time, and now it's about money and bottom line and launch dates, and everybody's asking, and you're doing this dance that you get into, because business then butts up against creative at that point. And then you have consumer expectations and what they're paying. It's a delicate balance. It's why it's important what you're saying is to know your North Star at the beginning. I could see that.
And it's also like back then, the internet wasn't as big of a thing, right? So it wasn't considered building it into the consoles. So naturally, as consoles become more internet connected, and also games became harder to make, and the expectations go up as the expectations go up as the price of the game goes up, as well as the console hardware goes up because the cost of the hardware goes up. It's just a natural. I think it's just a natural thing where it's like, oh, we can just day one patch it, right?
Yeah. It's so easy. Yeah, we can just push out a patch.
Yeah.
And it used to be, I think, multiplayer, or at least the multiplayer component of a game. That's more acceptable because it's like, all right, well, I got to go online if I'm going to play it. But then all of a sudden these patches are like gigabytes of information, and you're like, wait, I got to wait another 30 minutes or 15 minutes before I get to play the game again. Yeah. Like, that's not cool either. That's horse crap. So it's my overall feel is like, we need to make our processes more efficient and better through the previous topic we talked about. There's other management styles, and there's a whole bunch of deep dive stuff that goes into that. Hey, that's why I consult on that. If you need help with that, please come see me.
I think what you're doing is so needed, because if you look at, we just mentioned some only recent ones, right? Concord. I mean, it's becoming more prevalent. Now, I will say we seem to be seeing more indie stuff coming in. Look at what happened with Expedition 33. Now, they're not full on indie. I'd call them more like double A
indie.
Or A. Yeah.
But double A is becoming the new term, it seems.
It is. But to me though, it plays into, what do you believe is the most underestimated thing the consumer doesn't understand about AAA development and these problems that you're talking about? The common consumer probably doesn't understand the life cycle of software development and these pitfalls and the efficiency factor. What do you, in at least nowadays, what do you think people just don't get about game development? Is it like movies where they think it's easy? Everybody's like, when's it going to release? When's it going to release? They want it so bad. But
there's even like, take the modern day requirements out of it. Like, making a game is difficult.
It's hard.
It just is to make it. Let me put that back. Shipping a game, getting a game to an actual shippable state that is stable, solid. Yep. I'm not saying nothing is ever going to be 100% bug free, especially these massive games, but that like open world or whatnot. But you definitely expect it to be better than it is. But it's difficult to get it into that state, right? But we're at this point now where there's, complexity breeds problems, and engines and everything else are just everything's more complex, right? It's like you didn't have to worry about like in the PlayStation 2 days, like, oh, how is the and when I shoot the wall, I need it to break, and then I have to see through it, and I have to have glass and all this stuff. We're just like, that shit ain't doable. So
more
suck
complexity.
It up. You're not having it. And now it's like, oh, I want this fully interactive world. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what I mean by the requirements is these expectations are going up, and we need, as developers, I think we need to do a better job of managing them. Like, I think we need to make games cheaper. For one, we have to get back down to at least a $60 price point, if not 50, in my opinion. I think it's totally doable. And then we need to look at development in ways that are more efficient. And some of that might be AI, but not in the way that everyone's hating on it. I think AI, let me just crack the can on that one. I think it's going to play a role. The best thing it'll play a role in is helping with the mass amounts of minutia. There's a lot of bullshit that comes with making a game, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But, like for example, a QA tester ideally needs to walk around every place in the world and jump every place in the world and see where especially if it's a game that has parkour and ledge grabbing or whatever, where do I get stuck? Where can I fall through? Because also a lot of times we have to put like these, okay, someone's going to fall through the world at some point. So here's a giant death plane that's at like minus 10,000 meters. So you'll fall for a little bit. You'll see like, what the hell? And then it'll kill you and reset. Sometimes that wasn't big enough. And we've had cases where somebody fell outside the death plane. And now it's like, all right, now it's going to literally crash the console because it's going to hit some kind of memory leak or whatever. So like there's that kind of thing could be perfectly done by an AI, because as much as I say that with the goal of not taking the job away from the QA tester, it's like, like you have a game like Borderlands where it's a massive open map. That's multiple QA testers doing that all day. And it's like, you know what? I need you actually playing the game and doing the things and thinking outside the box and trying to break the living snot out of the game in ways that an AI isn't going to think of. Let the AI do the minutial shit, because, I mean, also think about human psychology. It's like, if I'm doing a menial thing and I have to do it daily, because also geometry changes, you've got to go back in there and test the same area again because somebody moved something. It's like, if you just zone out. Right. And you become less effective as a person. I remember as a kid, I got a chance to go, you go on field trips. And one thing that always stuck with me is there was a metal stamping place that was near where I grew up in Illinois. And there was a machine where a person had to take a piece of metal off this, slide it into the machine, stamps it, take it out and go about. They literally had cuffs that they designed into the machine. So when the machine went down, it pulled your hands back because they had people lose their hands because before they did that, somebody was just getting into a rhythm and wasn't thinking. And then all of a sudden their hand, they got squished and the hand or the finger got squished. And so they did that as a safety mechanism. It's like, that's a torturous experience. I don't want QA people getting tortured with that bullshit. Like, give it to some AI that can do it 10,000 times a day if it has to. And that to me, I think is what's going to help.
I think that makes total sense because the QA testers can then do higher level creative thinking. I was just recently watching this whole thing about Ultima Online, and that was a big deal being in what they were trying to do. And they did this whole thing with the ecosystem where they tried to make this perfectly balanced mechanic where, okay, well, the vegetation grows on its own and the animals spawn. And they thought that people just would like this and to be a great balance. But everybody, and they tested the heck out of it, were great. Everybody just killed everything.
Yes.
And then the developers were like, well, crap. And so they increased the spawn count of all the animals and everything. And then it just snowballed. And they never thought, and that's what they talked about in this documentary, was they never thought about the human psychology element of they're going to try shit that we hadn't even thought of. And to be able to use the testers in a more higher level way makes way more sense. And then let the menial stuff, that just makes total sense. Give that off to the AI. And honestly, I almost think that needs to be the perspective in all of code development and what's going on in technology nowadays. Let's try to find those menial things, because it's no different in any other software development. Is that you're right? There's always tiny test stuff.
I think the biggest fear with AI, if I'm not wrong, is taking away that creative ability, you know, when it writes movies, when it writes book. But I think the way you're explaining it, I agree with that as well. As we're taking kind of a menial task and speeding it up. We're not taking away the creative ability of the writers and the developers and the coders and such.
Well, it's so one of the to go back, and also this plays in with the question you had about like what's the difficulty of development. There is, as far as I know, there has never been a game where this is not true throughout the history of time. There is more work that can be done by any team size, or any reasonable team size,
Always.
to get a game out the door. Especially once you get done into polishing and bug fixing, and beyond that, it's like just even leading up to it. The amount of effort and work that you have to put in, that's why there's these bugs exist in the first place, because sometimes it becomes a trade-off of like, well, okay, here's a bunch of C-level bugs, really just mostly visual, doesn't stop, some dudes float through the air, but it doesn't break the game, versus there's all these A-level bugs that are showstoppers. I have to fix those right now. You have to make these trade-offs between it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I think people also, when you talk AI, again, taking the creative aspect out of it, I agree. I don't want AI doing creative work. I think most people don't these days either.
Agree.
I just want it as an assistant helper, because the other issue is with all this work, there's sometimes when you hear people saying like, well, just hire a person to do it. Like, don't let AI even do the menial stuff, because they're like, that's work a human can do. It's like, well, hold on. That's work that already exists that we can't hire a human for, because we don't have the budget to expand that many people to do that much work. And even like you look at teams of like Ubisoft, where they have like 1,000+ people on a project, and they still can't find it all. It's massive. It's gargantuan. So it's like, and a lot of it is, especially in the end, is this grunt crap that you could literally put off onto somebody. Like, one of the roles I had to do was as the combat designers, I had to make the nav mesh the way the Naughty Dog tech worked, right? So if the nav mesh isn't right, the AI is not going where it needs to go, and that can break everything very easily, especially when you have allies that have to run around with you in certain places. So especially when you're coming down to the wire and like artists are going in and fixing their bugs, they're moving geometry a little bit here and there, and then all of a sudden I'm not told by it, which happens. Communication issues happen when you're trying to, everyone's running around with their heads cut off, like you're just trying to get this game out the door. You come back in and all of a sudden I get a bug like this thing's not working, or a guy's getting stuck in something, and I look and I'm like, oh look, then all these things got moved over a little bit, and I have to manually go in and redo the nav mesh. Some new tech
two
makes it
steps
easier.
Forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah.
I think you're being optimistic.
But yeah, I know I am. Go ahead.
Close out this section. The question really, and if I'm phrasing this right, is when do you decide as a company or as a development team to pull the plug or abandon ship per se and move to your next project? And to give an example, I'll let you answer first. Sorry.
No.
Well, I was going to say,
I thought you were done.
We've seen some really good examples of Cyberpunk. The team staying with them. It kind of had a really bad launch, and they came back and fixed it, stayed with it, determined. No Man's Sky, I know Keith's a really big fan of that. It kind of went up and down.
It had a bad first start.
It was a terrible launch. I was so sad. I took it back. I got it for PlayStation. I took it back. But what's weird now is after all these years, Hello Games, they're still releasing these massive, updates to it, and they're not charging. I don't
not at all
understand
the DLCs are free, and
I pay for it because they're good. They redeem themselves. But that is a great question. I get the business side of it, and you see this a lot. You have so much invested in, pulling plugs, kind of a hard decision to make. Like, what's your thoughts on like why does that happen? Like, is it mainly business pushes it over the line when it shouldn't? Like, is there ever a point in your career you thought, have there been any project where like, let's just pull the plug, this ain't working because they're not adhering to some of the things that you've learned about North Stars and organized?
I've definitely worked on projects that have been cut. I've definitely worked on projects where I'm like, this should just be cut. This game should be canceled. I have definitely worked on those. I'm not the only one. I know that. It's a hard thing to do because it's like you said, you're kind of killing your own kid to an extent, as an extreme analogy. But I think you can I think in the examples you gave, you can look at, like the devil's in the details, as they say, right? Not everything is, well, hardly anything is pure black and white thinking. There's always details in it. And why something gets canceled at certain points versus not. Yeah, sometimes it's a business decision. Probably many times it is, but other times, who knows? It could be n number of factors. It could come down to politics of somebody up above was like, aha, I got your project canned because I hate you. And you're like, okay. Like it could be n number of things. But I would say, as an industry, I think we need to do a better job cutting earlier, which is one problem. But so, for example, in the examples you gave about like Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, if you go back to the player fantasy, they're good. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, I want to go frickin' play in the Cyberpunk world, and everything you're showing me about the hacking and the gunplay and how it all works together with the story. I'm like, that sounds frickin' amazing. I fully want to do that. And even as it was more of an execution thing that screwed it.
It was.
Right. And then also same thing with No Man's Sky. It was. The fantasy is like, I remember a buddy of mine, he had like, when growing up in the 80s, he had like these, they used to, it's weird. It's not an art book, but it would be like a picture book kind of about space with these write-ups. It'd be all fiction, but it'd be about like, some artist made a really cool concept of like a skull in a cracked space helmet with a giant space station thing dug in the sand behind it, and somebody wrote like an entire description of what this was, and it was a whole book full of that. That's and it looked like No Man's Sky. That was the feel I got from it. So seeing that to me is like, yeah, there's definitely something very appealing about this explorative aspect of it and what they're trying to do. Again, it was an execution thing that had to get it. So sometimes I think you can evaluate things based on the desire of like, people wanted to play the game. People were sticking with it, even though it was difficult. There was just problems. And sometimes if the execution is so bad where it's like, we can't fix this, or it will take way too much money to fix this, and it'll take way too much time. Yeah, then maybe you have to cut loose. But then you look at something like Concord, and it's like, because we brought it up already, that I mean, the player fantasy on that was just not compelling in the slightest. Like the world was like, what is this? And then the characters weren't very compelling. It's, you know what I mean? It's like the whole part and parcel. So like you could look at that early on before spending $400 million on it and going, I don't know what we're doing with this here. This is a clone of, this is an Overwatch clone. And
I was going to say, people, when I remember when they saw the footage of it, that was the biggest comment. The first reaction was, wait a minute. It's like they want us to think this crew's camaraderie is Guardians of the Galaxy, but the game is trying to be Overwatch. And
it's a confusing message for everybody.
It didn't distinguish itself out the gate to have that compelling aspect to it.
And I should clarify,
if you compare it to like a Destiny, where Destiny has like, a lore.
Destiny is, yes. Well, you could argue that's the difference between Destiny 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right.
Hands down.
People like Destiny, or people prefer the original as opposed to, whatever. But also, I should say, it's all right. This isn't to say that they didn't try their hardest, by the way. I'm not saying, this isn't me to say like the developers are a bunch of dumbasses. No, it's to say like, I understand the idea of you get stuck in the weeds so much you're not seeing the forest for the trees, as they say. Yep. But it's one of those things where it's like, because back in the day, the thing you'd hear is like, as long as it's got good mechanics and it's fun to, it's good mechanics and it's fun to play or whatever, people will always come back. And I'm like, that's not the case, because Concord's mechanics, everything I heard about it, people enjoyed the shooting, felt great.
Like solid.
The tuning and the mechanics and the balancing, all of that was good. It was the fantasy that holds it all together that just said, no, nobody wanted to deal with that. But they did it. Like, you look at the assets and you look at the amount of work that went into them. It's like, they're high quality assets. It's just, again, you have to analyze it from that fantasy perspective. And it also goes back to show people can forgive a lot with a good fantasy.
They can.
Like, No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. It's like, that's a lot of forgiveness that they got out of that. Straight up.
I think it's because they went back to the core of the lore, and I think of games like Anthem, that BioWare, it was so touted, but I remember playing it. I remember that they had
It
this
was
cool
a
thing with
beautiful game, but
beautiful game. It was fun to fly in the suit. It had it was well made. It didn't stick because it was kind of narratively soft. It didn't pull you. It didn't have the lore like
Yeah.
you're saying. I think you are
Well,
you're
not
spot
even
on.
the Anthem thing is the lore is one problem, but the other thing for me, at least the way I look at Anthem, because I really wanted that game to I love the Iron Man suit fantasy is such a good
really
fucking
cool.
fantasy.
Yeah.
And they're the first game that has really pulled it off. Like you felt like you're in an Iron Man suit and it
was awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, this is great. Why the fuck did you put it in the jungle?
I know. It didn't, it didn't fit.
That's the part I don't understand. It's like you kind of, I don't know if they were trying to go for whoever came up with the decision. I'm like, were you trying to go for like, oh, well, let's do this, but we'll put it in like James Cameron's Pandora world with floating islands and stuff. And I'm like, hold on. Iron Man needs to be blowing up buildings and cool shit, right? And vertical combat and all this stuff. It's like, I am a flying tank and I want to fly through stuff that's really cool. This is not to say you can't have jungle-ish elements or have a world like an open world map that goes between, but you got to give me some cities that I can fly through a building and like, you know, or go around it and just blow corners off. And like, you got to give me that ability to sell this power that I have in this flying suit. And that, I think that to me could have played into the lore a little better. If maybe if they changed the setting, could have updated the lore, et cetera, then Bob's your uncle, you have a much more compelling fantasy. Might have actually gone off a lot better. I don't know, but that's my personal take on it. I really wanted that game to succeed. I was so sad.
Me too. I was excited about it. I thought it was great. It was awesome.
I had friends working on it too at the BioWare Austin studio, like ex Naughty Dog guys. They're awesome, and like they tried their best. I had no fault on their part.
Yeah. And then you got funny things that happen. So you were talking about like the story and the hook and people getting vested. I'm gonna throw as we were talking about BioWare. Mass Effect. So you had such a cool element, great story. Everybody loved Shepard, and the coolest part I thought was the way they sold it, but they overplayed it. Was your save states and decisions carried into the next, and I thought that was such a cool concept. But then you found out it wasn't in the marketing. They made it sound like it was more influential on the outcome than what it really was. Now, looking back on it and understanding all of the different breaks, which is fine. I can forgive that.
Yeah,
remember the backlash from the third one. The third one I felt had the tightest. They really zeroed in on the duck and cover system. Like it just got better and better because one's rough, especially when you go back and play the Legendary.
One's rough.
It's rough. But even after they remastered, it's a little rough. But 2 and 3 just got better and better. But then, and I loved them all. But 3, the backlash on the ending, because people were so vested that they were, and to give them credit, they went back and I think they patched it and they did some different things with the story.
Change it.
They did.
I know there's a question about whether that was a good idea.
Yeah, I know. So it's interesting the things that can happen like that when people get vested and you got them, and then they set expectations, and it's probably like a TV show, like The Walking Dead, if it goes on too long or something.
Well, that's the thing. TV shows live and die by that way harder because you're not really buying a TV show, right? You're choosing to tune into it. But I would say it's an interesting thing because, like, okay, the ending didn't really fulfill the fantasy the way players wanted it to.
Yeah.
However, still love the game.
Oh, and I still do. Yeah.
Like the fantasy of the game in and of itself, minus the ending, is people still play it. We'll go back and replay it, or
of course
they bought it. It's like, even though they heard the ending was like, oh man, but it's like, but I still love this game, and then it's like the player fan is about. I love being in this universe and I want to live in this universe. Like that's what it does. So yeah, the ending was sour and it hurt a lot of people's feelings. And there's an argument whether they should have changed it or not, but they still play them,
and they're still masterpieces. They did so many cool things on that. So I'm gonna shift gears for a moment on this. So let's talk about adaptations, only because you've worked on a game. Actually, you've worked on more than one game that's been adapted. When a game gets adapted to film or television, what is your opinion on what is the most common factors in their failure or success? And do you have a favorite adaptation? Now, I want to know your thoughts on Uncharted and Last of Us myself.
Sure.
Personally.
God,
the movie Uncharted, the movie Uncharted, to be clear, everybody, and then the Last of Us TV show by HBO.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
the biggest problem that still persists at this point is finding somebody that understands the source material and can respect it. And that's difficult because with games being interactive, it's a much harder sell.
Yes.
Funny note about the cat. Is that a cat?
Yeah, it was actually. Sorry. Go on. Understanding the source material.
So a funny note about Uncharted was the moment we shipped the first one, the rights for the movie were already up, and we had multiple people come in. Then they sold them. Like that movie was in not production, but it was in process since Uncharted 1. Right. Yeah. So it's like that's how long it took to get that movie done. And like
it did.
And the way it worked, we had no say in it. It was
I figured
it was Sony Pictures. They can do whatever the frick they want with it. And the final product, while it's I guess great. For people, it's a fine popcorn movie. Flick. It's I thought it was shit. So I thought
Think Tom Holland, great
first choice ever.
Cool dude. The thing that bothers me the most was Mark Wahlberg as Sully. What?
First choice ever.
Dude, that should be an older gentleman. I don't know. To me, I just don't get me started on The Last of Us because, and I know that casting's a thing, but you when you spend all the time with these characters and your first experience, you really got to nail the casting. But you also, like you said, the source material. You look at Fallout. Fallout's really good.
I've heard very good things about it. Yeah.
But Bethesda's had their hand on that pretty tightly. I mean, they're talking about they're handing over the direct game assets to them, and that's what they're modeling, the power armor after, and like the death claws. It looks like Doug and I have talked about this. That adaptation looks the most like the game world, and I think it's because they were able to have their hand in it pretty heavily to be close to the source material. To your point,
I think that's where it's like. You look at that's what I was going to say. The season 1 of The Last of Us. Yes, I'm not a fan of the casting choices myself either. Pedro Pascal does a pretty decent job as Joel. Yeah. But Bella Ramsey, I don't know where that one came from. But it's fine. Yeah. It's whatever.
It's fine.
But the fact that
Still
Neil
a good show.
Yeah, the fact that Neil got to put his hands on and help adapt it was like. It helped made it that much more faithful, and you knew somebody was there that was going to respect the source material. That's super important. And I've not I've only played little bits of Fallout. Fallout was one of those universes I never got into, so the TV show didn't really interest me that much. But I do want to watch it because I hear everybody saying it's loves Fallout. They said it's great.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else. Like, there's just so many. I mean, another one that you're just like, look at the Assassin's Creed movie.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't like it at all. Yeah.
Dude,
no.
What was that?
No.
Well, it worries me because they're developing, because right now, because of the cost of developing things, they're going with known IP. God of War is being turned into, we got Warhammer 40K. We've got, there's just one thing after the other, especially from video games. And it always makes me a little worried when they take video games I love and they're putting them into the real world, because it's like,
no, I totally agree. It's here's the thing about some of those, like the 40K one. It's Henry Cavill. He loves
40K.
Oh my God.
So it may be done right, actually, because he's a nerd like us.
And I believe he's the one that's in charge. It's like he's the showrunner.
Yes.
So
that one I have high hopes for because of his involvement.
So I'm hoping that's going to go very well. I also think, what is it? Like, another one that was, okay, I don't know how to say if it was faithful, but I feel like it was the Super Mario Brother movie.
Yeah.
That was good. I was expecting that to suck and just be like pandering nonsense. I'm like, this is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
The Minecraft movie felt like a cash grab, but whatever. It's Minecraft. So
Doug, is this where I'm going to throw Doug under the bus? Tell us about Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal, not like the game at all, but I like that because, like you said,
there wasn't much of a story in Twisted Metal.
We need something for the audience, because if you just have cars driving around in a circle shooting missiles at each other, so the backstory does help out big time on that.
Yeah. Well, it's some franchises like that. You get a little more leeway, right? Because, like you said, the game wasn't very heavy on story, so it's like,
you gotta fill it in,
right. But then also, what was it? There was the not Resident Evil, the other one, Silent Hill movie or whatever that just came out. And that thing was, everything I've seen about it is people are like they did, like, sure, they got the feel of the town, but it's like, they didn't get, like, again, they didn't, I guess that's another thing too, is like, there's a lot of adaptations where it's like, they get the surface details right. And that's where, but they don't really understand what makes it work. Yeah.
The soul.
And that's a big one too, because there's been a lot of things where it's just like, yeah, it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, but it ain't a duck.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like something's up with that. So it's I think it's that's where I would. I'm looking forward to some of the new ones coming out, but yeah, some of the other ones, like you said, the God of War one, I'm like, I don't know if that needs to be made into a TV show.
I love those games. They're so good. The stories are great. They're well acted, and it's just like when they go to do it, it just always makes me pause, like, oh, should you? So, actually, I queued you up.
We'll see.
Your next question. Yeah, we'll see if they're good.
Is there a game you think would fit perfectly for television and one that's almost impossible to adapt well?
Like, or is there one that you'd want to see even?
Reoccurring episodes, not just kind of a one and done movie, if that makes sense.
Do you want a System Shock TV show, Benson?
Okay.
That might work.
System Shock 1 has a lot of depth. You could actually make a pretty compelling TV show about it. But it can't be, all right, compelling TV show as in, like, not Sci-Fi Channel. It's, you know what I mean? It's got to be like, no. Somebody, I'm talking like Andor level. It's got to be good.
I got you. Right? Quality. You're talking quality.
I want quality, not like, hey, look, here's my little mutant, and it's clearly a green screen with really bad whatever. Sorry, I'll put my head in the wall now. Anyways, but that actually is interesting. I think you could do it because of the multi-layered space station and the whole thing with Shodan and what and the way that you start. You've got the start of trying to do the gig at the beginning on Earth, and then you go up to the thing, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. Like, there's you can do a lot of cool story techniques where it's, because it's a television show, you can actually do the, like, jump backs of, like, what happened while you were asleep and show it from other characters' perspectives. Like, and the different levels all have their own different feels and vibes, and you're trying to do different things at different times. And I think that you could make a season, maybe 2 seasons of, like, a Netflix show out of that done to quality. That could be really good. God, and sorry, whenever somebody asks me a question like that, my brain just immediately blanks. And it's like, I forgot.
Like asking you what do you want for your birthday?
It's like, I've forgotten the name of every game ever. I can't remember a single game now. They're all gone. The Cyberpunk.
Yes.
I'm one of the people that is unfortunate that I waited until now, and I'm finally going through it because I wanted to wait for all the bugs to get fixed. And then also the PC I had back in the day was crap, and so now I have a good PC and stuff. So I'm about 30 hours into it, 25 hours into it.
Yeah. Did you get the Liberty expansion as well, right?
I'm gonna do that after I finish it.
Making sure you do. It's excellent.
Everything. That's what I've heard from everybody. But I just got to the part where Johnny Silverhands is revealed.
Oh, nice.
So I'm at that part now.
It's about to get real. About to get real for
and
you.
It's a good, like, that's a very cool universe. It's big. You could absolutely turn that into it's so well written in terms of, like, just some of the dialogue, but it's so well written overall in terms of cyberpunk's type of storytelling. It's like, I love that. It's like Altered Carbon.
The book series. I've
read the book series.
I love the books, and my wife and I watched the show. I liked the show a lot. I thought it did well.
I like the first season
a little more.
Yeah.
The first season, it kind of lost its way. Yeah, that's a great example. They did good. It didn't fall off the wheels, but you're right. I think that first season was really good, really strong.
Second season was kind of, because second season isn't really like, okay, it's sort of like a book, like the books, but it kind of combines elements from 2 and 3, and it's
when they start doing that. Yeah, they start doing that. It's always odd. Anytime there's an adaptation, I always kind of take a pause because it can either go really, really well, hit right down the middle and just be kind of meh, or it just falls apart, it seems. So,
and I'm trying to think, a game that you could not do an adaptation of.
Yeah.
Half-Man?
I don't. Did you watch
Don't say the Pac-Man cartoon.
No. The secret levels. Have you heard of secret levels? Amazon did it.
Oh yeah.
The little mini shorts. Yeah.
So there was a take on Pac-Man on that one, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. They're only like 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I need to watch that.
And it's really good. It's dark, but it's really good.
Well, that's that's like these fun internet channels that are like going to take something light and fluffy like that and then turn it into like, I got to keep eating this thing, otherwise I die. The poison in my body is going to get to me. It's like, what? Don't fuck that up for me. I don't need to see that shit, or I don't need to think of it that way.
When the copyrights are expiring on things, people are making horror films on them, like Winnie the Pooh.
Mickey Mouse.
It's called, what was it? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
You lose your rights, and everybody gets to make their own movie with it.
That's right.
Someone just needs to take AI and redo Cocaine Bear and make it Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my god!
There you go. That's it.
That would be awesome. That would be Cocaine Bear is a video game. What do you think of that?
If I play as the bear,
that would be actually kind of cool. Yeah. That'd be a
you can do it. No, you can do it both ways. You can either play as the bear, and it could be a fun game, or a silly, like one of those silly games where it's like kill all the people, or it could be one of those alien isolation games where you're trying to stay away, you not get eaten by the bear.
It could be make it multiplayer, and then you have people playing both, like kind of like the Dead by Daylight games.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that could be an interesting one, but yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like I don't. Again, my brain just went. Whee! So it's like I'm having a difficult time thinking of stuff, but yeah. I mean, there's also just some games where are like, you know what, the interactivity of it is what I really liked about the game, and the story was good or whatnot. But I don't want. It's kind of like Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Mm-hmm. They made the movie out of that. I'm just like, I don't want a movie out of this. Like the game is so interesting and so dynamic that it's like it's my choices and when I'm doing this, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like
the interplay is really what kind of makes that. Yeah.
So that's why that's also another reason why I'm like, I don't like they are making a Zelda movie. Yes, a live action.
They are.
I remember
that's what I heard. Yes,
I've seen stills at least of it. It looks aesthetically good, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that as well because it's like
I know.
I don't. I'm Link. I don't talk. Link is me. It'd be I guess another one would be Half-Life, right?
Yes.
I don't my experience of Gordon Freeman is my experience that I played through the game. I don't want to see someone, I don't want to see Brad Pitt cast as Gordon Freeman, or some crap or Matt Damon. I love Matt Damon and Brad Pitt, but it's like that. I just don't want to see them as Gordon Freeman because it's like, that's me. Those are my memories of
that reaction you had. Is what a lot of people felt about the Halo TV show.
I'm one of them.
Their minds when Master Chief took his helmet off. Now I felt I get it. Yeah. I kind of get why they did it from a production standpoint, but people just lost their minds about it. But it's because Master Chief, you don't see him. So there are certain things like that people get used to with the source material. That
I honestly think that's another example of like it just doesn't translate well into the screen medium. It just doesn't. It's any of those games where it's like you are so much about, they did a great job, like you're the protagonist, you don't talk, you imagine yourself doing the thing or whatever. It's like, it's not to say that games where you do talk are bad, it's just to say these games are they did such a good job of that fantasy where it's just like, I'm Master Chief. I don't want to see somebody playing Master Chief. I am Master Chief, right? You know what I mean? Like, I am Gordon Freeman. So I need to get a T-shirt. I am Gordon Freeman. Whatever. I think that would be.
Do you think Valve will ever do a Half-Life 3?
If they ever get out of their university mindset, maybe. I mean, I got the chance to take a tour of the place. And
are they in Texas?
No, they're Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, gotcha.
Unless they've changed, the way it works up there it's pretty cool. Like, I love the concept of what they're trying to do, but I think it needs some more refinement. The idea is that like every desk is like on wheels, right? So you form these teams.
I've heard about their model.
Yeah. It's like you form teams by pitching and getting people to want to come on your team and to make prototypes or whatever.
Yep.
But I think the thing I've heard from people that have been there is the problem is it's always honeymoon syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone goes in like, this is amazing, working on it. And then after once you start getting me like, okay, now it's time to start doing something with it. It's, or whatever. It's just like, or it gets hard or whatever. You get to the part where it's
traction.
That honeymoon syndrome is over. It's like, this person's making something cool. I want to go over there.
Yeah. It's hard to get traction. Well, and then you have the philosophy. I've heard like interviews with Gabe himself has said, well, we're not a gaming company, but when we do it well. But and they are. I mean, they're innovating in other spaces. I mean, they have a great marketplace. They're making tons of money on that. Everybody's super excited about the hardware outside of
nothing
what's
but
going
respect
on
for Valve as a company for all they've accomplished and even what they're doing now. Even though I make fun when I say the university comp. That's what I think is like. People go there to learn. It's like you're just experimenting on different PhD theses.
Yeah, they're like a farm. A development farm. Yeah, almost in a way.
But so it's like I have nothing but respect for them in that regard. But it's like it's a
they're
little
a great company. Yeah,
I want my fucking Half-Life 3, man.
I know.
I fucking want it. Yeah,
a lot of people do. I didn't play. Did you play the AR or the VR? They said that
no.
Was that Alex? They said it was
Alex,
really good.
Yeah, I didn't have a Vive at the time, so
my son's played it. He has his. I haven't played it, so I've heard good things about it.
Same thing. People said it was making the rounds when I worked at Servios. I should have probably just played it there because we had conference rooms with VR machines and we had Vives in some of them, and I should have just tried it. But I had an Oculus, and I think they eventually released it for an Oculus, but I have a Gen 1 and it's packed away, and I'm like, I'm not buying another.
That out just to
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, that and I'm not going to buy another VR headset as well because it's like
I get it.
Old.
Yeah, I get it. So
cool.
Let's go ahead. Let's get into this thing. AI. Okay, so I'll first start off by saying, there's a lot of hype just in AI in general. A lot of people. We try to educate the audience on this about what it is, what it truly isn't.
Yeah, it's not really AI.
Exactly. It's pattern recognition, fancy pattern recognition, and I really would love your thoughts on what are some. You already cited some genuine use cases, like, for example, menial resistance testing and those sorts of things whenever you're going through your beta testing phases. But where do you see this going? I remember seeing NVIDIA had done like their retrofit of Cyberpunk, where when you walk into the ramen shop, the guy making the ramen remembers the conversation you had yesterday. And Doug and I always joke about if they did integrate LLMs into NPCs, I could imagine a scenario in where people wouldn't really want to play the story. They just probably want to go in there and just log in and talk to the NPCs if they remember the conversations, like stuff like that. But what's your overall take on this? I read the article that you'd done some interviews on this, but where do you see it fitting? Where does it fit? Where does it not? What do people not understand about it? Just give us your take.
I mean, you're right. I mean, yes, the whole thing about like it's not really artificial intelligence. It's a thing. It's a giant pattern matching tool. It's just very good at it. To me, the benefit of it is the way I see the future of it is it's yes, the tech will get better and stuff, but it's in the training of very specific models for use cases that are, I think, where it's going to shine a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Tools are being a big one. I think there's a lot of space on the back end for tools to help with that. And this is where I differ with some people. I do think there are some creative uses for it, but it has to be done in an ethical way. So, for example, I think I believe it was Arc Raiders that uses an AI system for that. That is a kind of system that's a pain in the butt, right? That like the kind of like as a developer, you're like, okay, I want to give you the player as much information as I can, and I want to make it as specific as I can, especially when it comes to like, I want to do call outs and saying like, hey, check out the monitor or pick up the can of Coke or pick up the this or the that. And it becomes a real exponential frickin' problem because once you start talking about it, like I have how many characters I have to record these voice lines for, and then how many items in the world do I want to do this for? How many scenarios do I need to do it for? And also, what conditions am I doing it in, right? Am I doing it under combat? Am I doing it while I'm walking around casual? Am I doing it while I'm stealthing? Am I doing it while I'm insert whatever the frick other scenario here? So there's all these different ways you have to read the voice. Like an LLM generating the line.
right? You have to scale it. And yeah, I mean that.
It's like the amount of lines you would have to record is just insane. And then you have to track all that. Not to mention it has to get stored. I mean, that's once you get to that level of lines, you're talking, hey, guess what? We're taking up lots more space, and people already don't like the fact that games are as big as they are. So yeah, and some kind of LLM derived dialogue system that is driven from an actor's voice couldn't come in handy and give us that extra level of thing. The trick is, and I think this is where people will get the most hang up, is the contract has to be utterly fair, transparent, and equitable. As in, okay, I'm not just going to pay you for the amount of hours that you read the line. I'm going to pay you a set fee as if you did a lot of stuff in the game.
And, per line you get
maybe not a royalty.
I don't know.
Not a royalty, because that's a whole other different question, right? But definitely, I could see something along the lines of hey, if you were to read all these lines, it would be this much amount of work, right? And then we're gonna give you a package based on if you did the whole thing, and then also the contract has yes, and then the contract has to be bulletproof, where it's hey, it's for this title only. You own, you get a copy of the training data for yourself, in case you want to use it for something else. And, or maybe that one I can understand. It's okay, sure. Maybe that's more game content, but either way, it's got to be so specific where it's it's just for this game on the platforms that are released. And if we decide in the future to make a remaster or whatever,
Part 2 remaster, then we come back.
You get paid some more.
Or have a follow-on trailing deal.
Right. So
that's negotiated. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think people would be a lot less angry and less scared of it if we understood that people are going to try and be. I mean, I know not every company is going to want to be ethic in the future, but if that's the way it was handled and that's the standard, I think, we already pay people for likenesses for things, and we scan them and put them in the game, right? Like Keanu Reeves is in Cyberpunk, and whoever else is, we scan people and we get to use their likeness, and we have a license to use the likeness for that game. There's no reason we can't take that same idea and be, all right, we're going to use your voice to generate a bunch of automatic lines because because there's a million combinations that we just can't cover. So we're just going to pay you a fair sum of money as if you had done a whole bunch of voiceover work, because we're using your voice, but we're only going to have a license for this product, right? And that's it. And on these current SKUs, when again, with future expansion, it's like a show, right? It's like the actor gets something off the show, and if it re-airs later down the line or gets resyndicated or something, they get a little extra in the back, later on. So
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
That's what's needed.
I think that can help. I think that could help a lot.
I think it's great.
As we look at AI getting more and more involved, do you think it changes the soul of the game design, or it's just changing the tools and helping us out?
I mean, it can. It's like anything. To me, it is a tool. How do you use it, right? I mean, you could make an argument about random generated levels already having this problem back in the day, where it's random generated dungeons, in Diablo or whatever. And it's well, that didn't take away from the soul of the game.
The procedurally generated stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's I know it's not quite the same, but I think as a tool set, another thing I mentioned in the 80 level article I did was, there's also just concept art. I'm working with a client that at very early stages, right? There is no money at all right now, right? It's trying to put the concept together, get it to pitch, find funding, et cetera, et cetera. But we need concept art. So guess what? The guy that's the story person that's doing it, he went online and generated some concept art. It is only going in the pitch deck. It's not going in the game. Is that work that somebody could get paid to do? Absolutely. We have no money. And it's being used to get money that eventually, when the game is under production, then guess what? Hire a concept art or a concept art house and be like, hey, come over here. It's I can and also it's like any other. There's also pipelines and bottlenecks that happen in game design, right? Concept art is one of those where it's hard for some studios to justify having a very large concept art staff on full time all the time. Now, there's some great houses, like guys I used to work with, One Pixel Brush or whatever, Shaddy's Fatty. Like he's got his company. Some other people I know, they've got other companies that do the similar thing. They're great to stick in them, but it's still, I mean, it's not cheap, right? You're paying for quality and you're paying for their time, as you should be, right? So the thing is, when you have bottlenecks at smaller companies that are like, maybe you have one or two concept artists or one outsourcing house that, so if you have like these people over here are ready to work on this next section, but they need to get some concept art going so they can start figuring out what it's going to look like, versus this group over here currently has all the concept art resources. Well, does this group just not make progress? And they're like, okay, we're going to have to wait and however many weeks or months, or we tell the concept people, hey, crack the whip, and you got to work overtime to do it.
Time is money. Yeah.
Right. Or can we at the very least say, hey, you're the concept guy. Would you mind, you know what this is going to be and we're going to do it. Would you mind generating some stuff that you approve of to give them as a starting point? And then we'll come back, and when your time frees up, then you can go on and take that as a starting point and evolve it, do whatever you want to from there. I mean, hell, there could even be a problem. There could be a time where some concept artists are just like, they just generate a bunch of images to get it as a starting point, and then they go bring it in, and then they do all the magic on top of it, and then they make it their own, and it's now, maybe less than 1% of it of the original AI thing is in there by the end of it. It's like, that's another way you could use it that's valid. It's valid is in obviously that's depending on everybody, but I don't know. I think there are ways to use it like that. We have to be ethical. We have to be, like I said, with the contracting thing, we don't want to be, if a studio were to say, we're never going to have concept artists again, we're just going to do everything with AI. I'm like, well, I don't think that's a good thing at all.
No.
Of course not.
It's taking away the creative aspect of it. Yeah.
It is, and that's what's fanning the fires of fears in so many industries, is a lot of that hyperbole. But you're spot on, because I have a friend of mine that's in the film industry, and one of the most effective elements is exactly what you said, because they have the similar problem where you're trying to orchestrate in a creative element. Well, you've got special effects, and you've also got, it's nice if you can storyboard faster, or at least get your pre-visuals together to give a concept for the set aspect of it. You can fast track that, where before you were waiting on them to get that some level of completion. So it's about finding the right space to implement the tool to get efficiencies. And without losing quality and losing the soul of things. So
and then there's you're spot on. The same principle I talked about earlier as well, is where there's too much work, like, because some people are still going to die on the hill of like, well, then you should just hire more concept artists. It's like, okay, you have to understand, there's no money in the budget to hire another concept artist or to use the outsourcing house, because we would.
Yes.
Right. That's the other problem. It's like, unless you're a super studio, unless you're a Naughty Dog or like a top tier studio or somewhere else where it's like, okay, yeah, we know we're going to spend $200 million on this game, and we're willing to bring in an in-house contractor, or we'll hire with a contract artist. And if we got to spend an extra 10, 20 grand on concept art, we can do that. But small studios are trying to make games, with less people and stuff like that.
That's becoming more prevalent, actually, is because there's a lot of developers who just have started their own companies, and and then you got people out there like Stardew Valley guy who's just raw dogging it on his own, making these games by himself, at least for his launch titles. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
Jonathan Blow was the same way back in his first games, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
All right.
But that to me is what I think is.
That's perfect.
That's my view. And also, you just have to there's an aspect of,
I like
genie ain't going back. The genie ain't going back in the bottle, as people have been saying. It's like, we either have to figure out how we want to work with it now, that is in a way that we think is ethical and beneficial to all of us, or if we just spend all this time fighting, saying no, then there's just going to be companies that are going to come along and be like, well, I don't care what you think, and they're going to go do it, and they're going to set the standard, and then that's what's going to happen. You have to work with it, unfortunately, one way or the other.
I like your tool analogy. I've often said, when Doug and I have talked about this, I was like, it's an oversimplification, because there are nuances to it. But I like to explain it to people that you got to look at it as, if we just invented a hammer, you can do some amazing things with a hammer, right? You can build a house, but guess what else you can do? You can bludgeon somebody, right? So it's a tool, and it's about our intent and its purpose, when you use it, when you don't, in trying to find that balance that is really practical. And I like your take on it. It's probably the most level-headed take, because you go online and read, some people, they don't even understand what AI is, let alone what does it truly mean as a futurist? And how does it help? What are the pitfalls? That kind of thing.
Yeah, there's that. What is it? The one that Google just showed, where it's like, here's 60 seconds of a game that you can actually walk around in. It's like,
you typed in your prompt, you made your game.
Right. It's like, that's not making a game, from what I understand, and people need to realize. It's like, it is predictive. It is using prediction to generate the next frame and stream the frame to you, right? So it's not actually creating that world, it's drawing it. It's like AI. Yeah. So it's like AI 2D art slideshow, but it's just very good at being able to say, like, oh, well, you're most likely going to push forward here, or when you push forward, these are the frames I have to have ready next.
Yeah, I'm going to render.
So we can just
next.
do it. Yeah, it's just doing it really fast, but it's not. My understanding is, you're not getting like, oh my God, it just generated the entire inside of the Matrix for me of this city. It's like, no.
People don't get that.
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
not
get that at all.
So it'll maybe someday. I mean, the thought experiment you can always play with yourself. The thought experiment you can always do, and I'm not going to leave it at that, is it's something I always like to do from time to time, is what will happen to the world and society when we truly have unlimited processing power. And I mean unlimited processing power that is instantaneous, unlimited storage, and it can access any number of sensors instantaneously. Doesn't matter how big the data feed is. What's going to happen?
Fusion power, quantum computing, and storing things inside of a light and laser. Basically, kind of Star Trek-y. Yeah, you're right. We have a choice to make, right?
Well,
I mean, you just use that to think of like where things are going to go eventually.
Exactly.
Because that's just, in other words, until the destruction of mankind, that's what we're aiming for, right? Unlimited the equivalent of unlimited processing power, which for certain tasks we have, right? We definitely consider a calculator. I can calculate unlimited things, on any modern day computer now, or a cell phone. Okay, great.
Just look at our life. Just look at our lifetime. Dear Lord, how it's changed. And it's only accelerating the pace of progress. So we have to be adaptable. So
yeah, 100%.
That takes us into our next section really well. Of in the next 5 years or further, what excites you most about gaming in the future?
Well, the reason I went into consulting is I'm hoping that what excites me is I want to see if the game industry can turn around and get back to basics. Like my personal desire is I would love to see studios get smaller, go back to shorter time frames, realize that AAA doesn't have to mean the most ridiculous quality on the planet, and then balance a portfolio out where it's like, okay, you have your Grand Theft Auto, you have your one mega blockbuster that your studio is going to work on, or that some studios are working on, because it's an IP that was built up. We know there's a market for it. We know it, like a Grand Theft Auto. It's like, we can do this. We can spend 7 years on this work. Well, now it's going on to 9 or 10 or something.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, we can spend a long time and up to $1 billion on this, because it will sell $1 billion when it releases. We know that because all the previous history going up to it is great. So, but then also the majority of their games need to be like, well, here, let's make little 4-year projects with 80 to 100 person teams.
Yeah,
right.
Scale.
Yeah. Drop the budget down, get the price of the game down, get the expectations down. Because if you're going to pay, like even a story experience, if you at $60, one of the problems we had with Uncharted 1, the game was 6 hours and we had no multiplayer. That's a tough sell for $60. Yeah. However, if I sell that game for $30 or $40, I think somebody will take a nice 6-hour story experience that's deep with good characters and good, well done, good graphics, and it will sell well. It will sell well enough to more than recoup the money you need that went into it to do it, and have a very good chunk of change at the end.
Right? I think you're right. Yep, they go for big. And it's funny. Some of the best games I've enjoyed have been smaller productions. Like, I don't know if you've heard of a game called Dredge. It's like you're in a boat and you fish, which sounds so boring, but all of a sudden where they pull you in, weird things start going on. You have to figure out the mystery of why the fish are mutated. And it's so simple, made by a very small team. It was like $20-$30 on Steam when it first launched, and now you can get it on a Steam sale for like $10. So many more games like that are coming, and I really enjoy them. Dave the Diver. I mean, there's so many small games like that, and I think you're right. If we had more of that, I think it could be more iterative. And and you're right. Being able to embrace that is something that I think that would really help the industry a lot. Instead of a lot of the larger scale companies feel like we got to go big. They got to be like,
well, it's
huge investments.
I think that's tied to the price of the game. That's what I'm saying. So it's like the industry standard going up to $60 or $70. That's what I'm saying. That the person's like, well, now I'm spending Porsche money. Give me my Porsche. And same thing with the consoles. It's the other thing is also the console life cycles, I think, need to get way longer, right? Because there ain't nothing wrong with the PlayStation 5. The games that are coming out on it now or PS5 Pro are ridiculous.
They're gorgeous. Well, I think it's going to be forced to slow down with the current situation with AI. I mean, you got Valve's already pushed their little Steam machine because of the availability of RAM. Sony and Xbox have already said they're pushing their launches out at least by a year, and they're already prepping everybody. It's going to be about $1,200, and they're saying it's probably going to be closer to a PC. It's interesting to see what's going to happen on the front. I think it's going to slow down naturally, simply because, and it's funny, I saw a lot of developers are having to rebase what their requirements are going to be because people are going to be holding on to their machines longer because the RAM shortage and that sort of stuff. It's interesting, that impact. There might be an intrinsic slowdown just because of that anyway. Because I think you're right.
Maybe to a point, but I mean, also we've got various fabs and manufacturing facilities that are coming online, and
it'll fire back up. Yeah, it will fire back up.
Yeah, and that'll bring the price back down. But I would say, all right, take that. That's fair. Price, things driving up the prices is it's a world event. We need to be aware of those things and how they affect our industry. But I would say even if you took that out of the equation, it's like. It's like people used to buy the most latest and greatest cell phone, when they first came out for like the first however many years. And then all of a sudden the cell phones got to a point where it's like, I've still got my Pixel 6. And I'm like, I look at the newest ones and I'm getting the ads like Pixel 10. And I'm like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not doing anything. My phone's still good. I don't need anything else. And it's
not as big of a leap. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like the PlayStation 5 has so much power in it. Not even the Pro, the 5.
I still have the 5. I never went Pro. I love my 5. Yeah.
Well, the Pro is also $800. You're like, what?
It is.
So it's like, if I can buy this thing for $499, which is without the drive, I think $499 is the driveless version, or is it $399? Whatever. And it should be coming down in price because eventually, as they say, aside from issues in supply chain and stuff, things get cheaper over the course of the lifetime.
They should.
You have so much power. There's no reason the life cycle for PlayStation 5 can't go 15 years.
I agree.
Right? And the other, because if you do that, get the cycle of games down, make them cheaper, make them shorter to make with less teams. The other thing is, because the other thing people don't realize is like with the console cycles being 8 years is what it normally is. Well, games are taking 7 years now. That means a company like Naughty Dog will put one new game out. Aside from The Last of Us 2 remastered, they will put one new game out this entire console generation. It will be intergalactic, and then they will have to make PlayStation 6. And that means they have to be working on it behind the scenes, getting the engine ready for PlayStation 6 while this is going on. It's like, we don't need to do this. Sell more PlayStation 5s.
Yep. Preach. That's spot on.
It's because I think you also get from this mindset, it's the price, the expensiveness, the overpricing of consumer. I can't speak. The high consumer prices that are coming into play also seems like what we do as an industry, both in terms of a game and the hardware now, is we're like, well, the hardware is going to cost this much. Well, then what the frick are we going to put in it to justify that cost? So we got to come up with all these things that are going to make it worthwhile. And it's like, let's not do that. We have so much great product we can make on the current one. If you want, plan a PlayStation 6. Really plan it out there where the leap is going to be astronomical. Where it's like, oh my God, we're going to this because this is everyone's got 8K TVs now. whatever the hell the thing is, or is the must-have thing.
I've always felt specific to consoles, the quality of the library gets better the longer it is in the cycle. I mean, if you look at you look at PlayStation 3, look at it seems like and I think people hit that stride too from a development standpoint. Plus, it probably ties in what you're talking about, the time frames now that things are taking as well.
The other piece of the component is the fact that, so for example, we did what, Uncharted 2 and 1 in 3 years, and 3, I think in 3 years. Like, that's all on PlayStation 3. So that's 3 generations of that engine that got upgraded. And every learning on how to make the game faster and better went into each one. And like you said, the games get better. So that's another thing that also can extend the life of a console is people are going to figure out how to optimize for a PlayStation 5 and be like, oh, I can now make my game 20% faster, or, put 20% more in the game, whatever it is. And it's, you have to give teams time to develop, and you have to give teams time to adapt to the hardware. And I still believe, like, the importance of consoles, which also I think this is where Microsoft kind of hurt themselves by putting 2 of them out. The whole point of I know why they did it financially. They're like, oh, here's a cheaper one for people, and the promise was we'll use AI to downgrade the game. No, every developer, every single one said, you are lying your butt off. We know what it's going to take. And then every developer I know that has had to make a game for the latest gen of Xbox fucking hates it because they're like, I have to support this low gen one, and it's a pain in the butt. So it's like the beauty of having console hardware is like, this is the one-stop shop that I have to support.
Standardization.
Yeah, because the PC is always going to keep on going.
Yeah,
and that's fine. It's good to have that one that's going to keep on going. Man, like I said, it's just you're going to get to $1,200. If they're saying the next consoles are going to be $1,200, yes, that's. I think you've destroyed the console market at that point. That is double.
That's what a lot of people worry about.
Of what a PlayStation 5 will be. And I get it. The memory's a big one. Yeah. But if you're still talking, it's close to $1,000, that's still double. It's like, you've it's gone. I don't see consoles being a thing if they get that expensive. It's going to become a very niche market at that point. Totally, and that's not what we want. We need adaptability. Like I said, it's like, I'm happy to just take the PlayStation 5, when it comes down in price, add more memory to it, take whatever the equivalent, because also think about it this way, the chip in the PlayStation 5 is what, 8 years old? And it was in development before that. So whatever you're paying for that chip, what is the equivalent modern day version of that? And how much how much faster is it, right? To keep the price the same.
Yeah.
Do that. Don't put any new features in it. You've already got lightning fast hard drive transfers with NVMEs, and maybe you just support the latest NVMe standard and the latest USB standard. Just do those things, and then now we can actually release the next console. It's got some more beef in it, or it's got some more power, comes with a bigger hard drive, whatever. But it can play all the old PlayStation 5 games because it's the same architecture.
Backwards compatibility.
Yeah, upgrade to it. And then the newer games will take advantage of the newer RAM that you have. You'll have to buy PlayStation 6 games because they need all the new RAM and processing power. But your entire library just goes and you can charge it, and you're spending $400 on it.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think that makes so much more sense than people having to chase the latest and greatest. And it's almost like they're trying to throw back to, the traditional console model where the way the generation's released, but times have changed since then, and the industry's changed since then. And it would be better for them to adapt to, let's elongate that cycle, make it more modular. I do like that they did things, at least specifically PlayStation did better than Microsoft did, Sony did. And that was being able to replace your storage yourself.
Yes.
Versus Microsoft went the proprietary route. Well, no, you got to have this particular type.
I give all the credit to Mark Cerny for that. He is the smartest thing that PlayStation did after let's face it, PlayStation 3 was a bit botched. It finally caught back up in the end.
It did at the end, very tail end, but it was
a very bad.
Even handed to it. And 360 was,
it was psychotically expensive, and as a developer, the architecture was just a nightmare. So Mark Cerny jumping in at PlayStation 4, like the first thing he did was like he went to developers and said, what do you need to make great games and how can I help you? And so he just immediately catered to the developers, what's going to need for them, what have you been clamoring about? And he gave them what they needed and he listened. And then he listened to the, to players as well as like, what's going on here? Smartest move Sony ever did. And Mark Cerny is an incredibly smart person when it comes to this kind of stuff and architecting it. He's the guy you want in charge. Like,
yeah, and you look how
make sure Microsoft doesn't get him.
Well, I say, look how strong their line is going. I mean, they're doing great. They really are. And then like some of the studio, like the Sony studios, like God of War and things like that are special to them. The Spider-Man series, like they have some really good exclusivity. Exclusivity isn't quite as much of a thing anymore, especially now you see Halo being launched on the PlayStation, which we never thought we would see. Back from
that's
the
a crazy one.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think I have a sneaky suspicion. I wonder if Microsoft's going to get out of the console game entirely.
I'm wondering that too. Yeah, and it'll be left with,
because then
Nintendo
you just
and
have,
Sony.
Because, well, it's like Nintendo's chasing the thing that the Steam Deck and the portable, because now that everything's becoming powerful enough to be in this. That makes sense. And that's a market in and of itself. But there's always, it's one of those things where it's like, there's always a place where people want to sit down on a couch and play a game on a bigger screen. It's just a nicer experience.
I think that's why Valve is making the play for the Steam machine.
I agree.
We don't know the price point, of course, because of the supply and demand, but I think their goal is exactly what you said, to have that console experience with your Steam library, because you want to play it on a bigger screen and you want to be on a couch. That was my thing I told Doug, as I recently built a new machine, is like, I work from home, tech industry. When we would play games together, I was like, dude, I feel like I've been in this office. I got to get out. I want to go in my living room. That's why I love my PlayStation. So now I have my PlayStation in there, and I end up building a PC for my Steam, like just for the living room, because I don't want to game in here. I work in here. I do podcasting in here.
And look at people who have Steam, or who have not Steams, excuse me, Switches.
Switches,
right? Yeah, yes, you can sit on the couch and play it, but usually it's because someone's occupying the TV, or there's a kid in the room and you need headphones and you can't, the content, you need to keep it away from them, which is a problem I suffer with. But, aside from that, but almost like many of the people I see that are gamers, it's like the Switch is when they travel on the go to work. And then once they get home, it's like, oh, yes, I want my eyes to relax. This is eye stress. This is eye strain when I'm having to focus on something this small constantly and it gives me headaches or whatever over time. It's like, no, I want to just relax, throw down, and just, big screen TVs are freaking cheap these days. Like they're, you know, what happened to the days when it was like $10,000 to get a 72-inch TV? And now you're just like, oh, that's like $500, whatever.
$500, 70, 80-inch.
I don't know if it is. I'm just making that up.
No, they're pretty cheap.
They're cheap.
They've really gone down in price. So
it's crazy. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think consoles will still have a role to play. Because I remember when mobile gaming when mobile processing power got big enough to finally be a gaming platform, back when PlayStation 4 was launching, the amount of people I had in the industry that were just so bullish on like consoles are dead. I was getting memes sent to me of like dinosaurs running away with PlayStation and Microsoft on it, and it was a mobile phone was the asteroid. And I'm just like, dude, no, it's just going to create a new market segment. And sure enough, PlayStation 4 had one of the best launches, and like it's so people always give the doomsdayness. Someday it might happen, but I don't know. I still think I still see a benefit to it until we literally go chink, and now I'm literally playing on the back of my eyeballs. I just want to be able to. Yeah, exactly. I just want to be able to sit down and, like I said, I don't want to be on a computer screen. I don't want to sit even with an iPad. I don't want to sit here, trying to play a game like this. I want a controller in my hand and a TV that's a good distance, that I can sit here and relax. And I still think there's a market for it. All the hubbub going on right now about, sales are down and all this stuff. I'm like, somebody put out their 2025 or 2026 report. It was talking about consoles going down and that everyone's fighting for market share. This is the thing that just came out. I haven't had a chance to read the report yet. I've read some synopsises of it. And he makes an interesting argument. He's saying like, it's about you're vying for attention now. Like games are no longer about just games fighting for games. You're fighting for dopamine hits with like TikTok, OnlyFans, and all this stuff.
Attention.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. To me, that makes sense. But I think the flaw in the logic is that's under the assumption that the only reason people play video games is to get a dopamine hit.
Yeah, that's not true.
I don't think that's the case. So
I don't either.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, okay, I think the reason why you can see the decline in sales is look at all the big flops that happened last year.
Yeah.
Right? That's billions of dollars that weren't made that were projected to be made.
Correct. But then even on the counterpoint is that we had some amazing games last year. Like I brought up the list, like Ghost of Yeti, which, you know, the whole Ghost of Tsushima series is great. I mean, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Doom Dark Ages 2. I mean, Battlefield 6 was a phenom. It just buried a Call of Duty. You know, you got the Monster Hunter. I mean, last year, this list alone, Hollow Knights, The Clear Obscure, Hades 2, dude, that's some great gaming. And I almost think there's this democratization of gaming too, where, and maybe this is the lean, and I think you're right about Xbox, like them stepping out of console, where with what they're doing with the Game Pass, it's almost like, well, everybody wants to play these things. There's still great games being developed, made, people enjoy them, love them. We don't really care so much about what you play it on, whether you do Game Pass, whether you do the cloud thing that NVIDIA has with now, it's almost like Microsoft stepping back from that. And it's almost becoming more about, you can consume this on anything. We don't really care what you consume it on. And maybe that's because they're now a publisher. They bought everybody and their cousin between Blizzard and everything else, you know? Yes. So maybe that's
Thank you, U.S. government. Sorry.
Exactly. So that could be some of what's influencing, you know, they're stepping out of that. But I think you're 1,000% right. There always will be a place for consoles on some level. Yeah.
Because it's like you said, every game you mentioned has a very compelling player fantasy. Like, and I think there's an argument to be made that the reason why Battlefield 6 did so well is they acknowledged this and they went back to their roots and said, okay, we're going to give the players what they want.
Yep.
And that's what and voila, it did really well versus Black Ops 7 is like what? It's like half of what its estimates were or something like that.
And they did goofy stuff like you were talking about earlier in the conversation. They did goofy things with
it. There's parkour. There's a big guy that shows up, giant. It's weird stuff.
Lucid dream states and just weird stuff happened in it that didn't serve the pool. It ties exactly into what you were saying, Benson, at the beginning of this. And it's so funny. I think you're not only onto something. Last serious question. I want to get into our rapid fire here.
Yeah. Go for it. Sorry. I'll talk about this for ages. So.
No, I love it. I'm loving it, but I also want to respect your time. You've been so gracious with the time.
No worries.
With you shifting into consulting, and this is like the last, put a bow on all this, and the perspectives you shared here are, honestly, they're so needed. I really hope your consulting company just takes off like a wildfire, and you're
appreciate it. Me too.
All of them. We're going to plug the daylights out because it's needed. Everything that you said here, both, you know, being in the technical industry, you know, Doug and I were both lifelong gamers. Everything you're saying just resonates. What do you still love about this craft 30 years later? I mean, it seems like with the philosophies you develop, you're trying to help save some of the pitfalls that you see coming down the way. And we really hope you're able to do that. But what's the thing you still love that jazzes you and gets you excited? You love talking about this stuff. You've been so generous with your time. What's the thing that just fires you up? And is that what you're trying to do with your company that you've started?
Well, they always say like, as you get older, it's like, you know, you have a desire and naturally to like want to pass your knowledge down and to help others with it. And to be honest, this is a bit of an issue. It's happening across a lot of industries, but if you look at the hiring demographics of what's been going on, in the traditional, like, you know, people as they age out, they teach the incoming group, whatever.
There's no handoff. Yeah.
For whatever reason, this group around my age or whatever is like, and across many industries is going out. And you have a lot of junior people coming in, being put in positions of like, they've never done this before, or they've very rarely done it before. They don't have that mind share. So it's like, well, someone needs to give it to them, right? That's kind of what the point of this is to be like, well, I have, it's like anything else. There's a litany of tribal knowledge that you only learn by doing. And you see some of these games coming out. I'm like, oh yeah, we hit that pitfall like 10 years ago. I don't know why you did that. You know, it's like, because no one's there to tell you about it. But anyways, that aside, it's the teaching aspect of it is one element of it. But I mean, we're a story-driven species, right? That's why these player fantasies appeal to us. And to me, that's the best part is like, I will still I can still see a trailer for a game with a fantastic fantasy that really appeals to me and go like, oh, I can't wait to play that. And it's like, it's awesome. going on a journey. And it's like the fact that I've been able to help make these journeys and do the ones that I've been able to make now, and hopefully ones I can help people make in the future is like, yeah, that is the amazing part. Is just, yeah, it's like, I don't know, human storytelling in that regard.
I love that.
Very cool.
I love it, man. Everything you're saying is just resonating. I absolutely love it.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's great. So we're gonna get into our rapid fire. We're gonna get ready now. You can justify each one of these. We're gonna take turns on each one. Some are controversial. We're trying not to get you in trouble on some of these.
Okay. You're entitled to your opinion, even though you're wrong. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. We'll tell people that in any comments that fly up there. Doug, I'm gonna have you start off with it, buddy. With the very first one.
Yeah, just rapid fire. First one is Marvel or DC.
Can I be controversial and say neither?
That's fine.
Absolutely.
No, you can totally do that.
Because I think, at least going on the cinematic universe right now, I'm like, neither.
There's most days I would say Image Comics, because I love what they're doing with Invincible on Amazon. You know, just going straight cartoon with it instead of doing live action. But I wouldn't pick Marvel or DC. It almost would be, right? I think you're right. That's good.
That's my opinion. Whatever.
No, I like it. And there's no wrong answer. Yeah, just to get to
oh, bullshit.
No, there isn't. There isn't a wrong answer. No, there's not. This is the point of this.
He says you're setting me up here.
No, I'm not. It's to celebrate our differences and perspectives, because we all we're all in the same sphere of liking geeky things, and it's just interesting to get a take on what your position is. So the next one, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Trek.
For you.
I grew up with Star Trek. I grew up with both, but I mean, they're both in the crapper now, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
Starfleet.
Yeah, I something about Star Trek would just always, I don't know, edge me out a little bit. But it's not by much. Oh God, don't even. This name you should not have named. That is the name we shall never say again.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yes,
yeah.
I believe it got canceled already. I hope it did. I'm pretty sure it did. They're not going to. It's such a train wreck. So I'm with you there. I love both, but I've always been more Trekky just because of what it strived for. I'm with you on that one. That makes sense.
Something about the universe appealed to me. It's again, that's not to say Star Wars isn't. We're talking.
Yeah, right there. Well, it's like you like them for different reasons. You like, it's like when you play an arcade game versus a simulating game. Like you're wanting to get something different out of it. In my so there's not. Yeah, that's kind of my take. It's about
you can say it's a different fantasy it's fulfilling. Sorry.
Yeah.
I will never stop plugging that.
I love it. All right, Doug, we kind of know this one. We danced on it, but I'll have you ask it.
Yeah, I think you told us you're rocking the Pixel, but Apple or Android? And it looks like you have a mix of both with your iPad and your phone.
All right. Like we said at the beginning, I too used to be immature and in the camp of there's only one camp. Fuck you.
I was but now early in my career. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, PC Master Race always.
So was I. Hardcore. Now I love Macs. So
but it's like Android. It just Google fits me better for what I like to do versus the Apple ecosystem. But I still have one Apple product in here. I have an iPad, so it's like because we need to have one. If I've contemplated, I do music. Well, you can see I have a recording studio. I've contemplated getting a Mac just because recording on PCs is challenging at times because of the way things work. But yeah, use whatever works for you. They're both good, and they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, if you're interested in doing that, and only because I recently switched when I put I built the new Windows PC, put it in the living room. So if you're into music, I just switched over I bought myself a Mac Mini. But if you get the Studio Creator Pro, that comes with the music creation Logic Pro tools. It's not that expensive now. And of course, with that, you get the Final Cut, you get all that stuff like their version of Photoshop and all that. But it's super easy for you to do your inputs, like MIDI, comparatively to Windows. It's really easy for you to capture your guitar stuff that you're doing, it's routing your amps in and MIDI.
It's the hardware interface stuff, right? Because dealing with the ASIO drivers on PC versus Mac's just built in. It's you don't have to worry about it, that kind of stuff. But it's still got its problems. I know plenty of people have gotten the pinwheel of death.
Yeah. Well, you get to that gets into the Apple Silicon and what they're doing with that with the M series.
My favorite is the few friends I still have in the recording industry. Like every now and then, when like a new Mac OS comes out, I just see this. Hey, has anyone tried it yet? Do we know if it's stable? I'm not switching yet. Hold on. It's like everyone picks on Windows for their updates and like acting like Mac doesn't have this problem. And I'm like,
I have friends in the film industry, and the same thing with Final Cut Pro, and many of them just were like, you know what? I got tired of them breaking it with each iteration, so they switched over to like DaVinci Resolve, you know, and then it doesn't matter. We can use DaVinci Resolve on our Macs, you know. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I get it. It's like Apple's just as notorious for breaking something at the operating system level as Windows is. So
they all have their pitfalls, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I'm equal opportunity almost things for that. All right, next
one. Works.
You're stranded on an island. If you could only take one video game with you on a deserted island, which one would it be? And yeah, you have electricity.
Well, all right. See, this is weird. All right, because I want to min-max it. So, like, I can't say something like System Shock, which is one of my favorite of all time, because it's like, you play it, and then after you play it like the 10th time, you get tired. So you're like, what's a game I could go? What is a game I could play over and over again with I don't know, maybe like GTA 6 when it comes out, because it's pretty varied. Or maybe something like a good online game.
Like that. WoW, maybe?
Constantly changing. I never got into the WoW. I tried. I didn't want to. I only did the beta. Lose my life.
I did the beta, and I could tell it was going to be addictive. And at that time, they only locked you into. You could only play the Paladin class, and I really liked it. But what got me at that time, I was just starting in the IT field. I didn't have a lot of money. I was like, $14 a month when I know I will go stints with not playing it. Like, it's throwing money away. Versus, I really like the model of, well, I could just drop my money on the game, and if I don't touch it for 2 months, guess what? I can always come back to it. I'm not out any money. So that's what always kept me away from it. Was the subscription model was a little too steep.
So I don't know. Like it would have to be something that
Skyrim, something that you can.
Something you can sink your teeth into over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Right. That's got like hundreds of hours of gameplay. Because at that point, I'm gonna rely on the fact that somebody's gonna come rescue me by that point.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah.
Because I can't. One game isn't enough. I'm sorry. It's just no.
That's fair.
No.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. I like it. All right, Doug, you're up.
So this can go many different ways, but favorite technology, and we don't really put a area of interest on that. Just favorite technology.
Anything. We've had some fun answers on this one, so it could be anything.
Well, I hear the sex robot industry is growing.
Wait till the AI
gets back to AI.
Yeah, going back to AI again. Yeah. No, thank you. Anyways, technology. Yeah, it's all right, because I was just talking about something similar, a similar kind of question. Just my friends that we were talking about this later. Is there a limit on what is classified as a technology? Like, is the internet classified as a technology? You know, what I mean?
It is the technology. Like, no, it's wide open, man. Yeah. We'll take it.
I mean, I guess I would say, and it's not to be without its problems, but like cloud, the whole concept of things being cloud-based is pretty awesome nowadays.
It is pretty cool.
You know, where it's like, I remember, I was just thinking about this, like, I have a little NAS unit that I still haven't set up from when we moved in the house 5 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not panicked, because it's like, usually it'd be like, oh God, I need something to save all these files to, and because something's going to crash on this damn computer one day. And it's like, no, it's just, all right, all my documents, whatever, it's all safe somewhere. I don't need to worry. Now, granted, that's going to bite us in the ass when the fucking bomb hits and everything goes dark. But
but you know, we got bigger problems at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I look at it. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I guess probably cloud computing or that whole concept has been a pretty damn good technology. Yeah. But there's a whole much more, because then you can go into like the medical field and like robotics and camera work and all this stuff that they can do incredible surgeries they could never do just 20 years ago, and it's just like, whoa, you know,
it's hard to pick. It really is. But I like it. Cloud is good. Okay. This will be interesting because of your lean when you were talking about the North Star, and you start with what is narratively the story or the motivation of the characters. But when it comes to any fictional universe that you can possibly think of that you've been exposed to in your lifetime, if you could be dropped into any one of those fictional universes, it can be from anywhere, books, comic books, movies, video games, which one would you choose? And what role would you want to play there?
Well, the most standard answer I'm going to guess is a Jedi in Star Wars, but I don't know. No,
Sith always chasing you around. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, see, this you got to understand, like, I got the whole ADHD thing. So it's like, the first thing that happens is I'm min-maxing the fuck out of these questions in my brain when I shouldn't be.
You're just going everywhere.
So I'm like thinking like, okay, there's a lot of cool universes, but every good universe has an antagonist or some antagonistic force that you have to deal with. And I'm like, really? So now I'm thinking like, all right, what's the trade-off of like ability versus cool factor versus being in this thing versus how much danger am I going to be in, or how much am I going to go to jail or get stuck in something? You know what I mean? It's like, there's all this stuff about it. Cause it's like, I don't know. I think having some level of superpower is always cool, but that means there's a damn supervillain out there that you're going to have to deal with because you're in that freaking universe. And that's annoying as hell. As I was going to say, it'd be pretty damn cool to be Superman, but yeah, and then all of a sudden Zod comes around. I'm like, God damn it.
It's messing up the whole thing, dang it.
Well, it's like, because like, and that's like a really a tough one too, because it's not like, okay, this is just a force that I have to deal with and it's going to be a little bit of a nuisance. No, he's got the same powers as you and he's indestructible as you. I'm sorry, Zack Snyder, you can't just one can't snap the neck of another Kryptonian under the sun on planet Earth. So it's like, yeah, it's like this guy is like a never-ending force. He's just going to kill all of humanity, and it's like, I don't know what to do to stop him because he's got all the same shit you do. So it's like, that sucks. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, he did try to explain that on the commentary. I don't know if you ever saw that. I don't know if it plays well, but he explains.
I didn't see the commentary.
It makes sense. So I'm a huge Superman fan. I even have a tattoo and everything. So
okay, then please enlighten me. I would love to know.
Supposedly, according to Mr. Snyder, it was his body synthesized the yellow sun better than Zod's because it was relatively new for them, and so it was more adaptable to grabbing the sun's energy and being able to harness it and leverage it, thus giving him a bit of an edge.
What the fuck was that edge in the fight?
I know, he got his tail.
So it gave him enough of an edge to break a bone, to break a neck.
But there was an element to that Superman, and this is part of like the story thing that even in the comics, he's always holding back. It's that those Kansas roots of Boy Scout, he's always holding back, and he never pushes to his truest capability. And one could say that if you go along with that, then maybe if you go with the synthesis thing and he processes the sun a little better, maybe he pushed himself.
Yeah, that sounds like some copium. That sounds like some copium, but that's all right.
Could be one of them after.
It sounds like a way that to plug a really bad plot hole in bad writing. Because why not just do what the other Supermans do, which is like you get them back into the fucking Phantom Zone.
That's right. Just throw them in the glass.
Yeah, you have to get that that's the goal. It's not that I'm going to kill him and take him out. Or other Kryptonians that happen to come. I don't know, whatever. See, so this is what happens with nerd fights. You can't pick a universe.
You can't pick a universe because you're struggling with the pro and con.
It's all right, because I have that, I call it record store syndrome. This whole thing, it's like, I can have all these thoughts in my head. Like when we leave from here, I'll be like, I should have said this. I should have said this.
Yeah.
But when we're here, it's like my brain just blocks it all out. And it's like,
I get it.
So I'm trying to think like, because ideally, I think I would want to be in a universe with some kind of superpower, right? But now I'm trying to think, well, what superpower would I want? And who are the people that it's associated with? But then also, what universe is that? How dark is that universe? What's the dangers in that universe? Because there's going to be, because it's a freaking story. Because that's the way all good stories are. There's no such story as like, and he lived in normalcy town, USA, with the powers of Superman. I'm like,
doesn't happen usually.
Yeah. So it's because he could even say like, oh, the Star Trek universe would be cool. But then there was that one episode of The Next Generation where I forgot what it's called, where Picard got to go back in time and change getting stabbed in the heart. And it turns out he was just a nobody and he hated it. And I'm like, well, what if I go into that universe and be a nobody? I'm like, well, do
cautionary tale. But you're right. There's always a counter. There's always a counter to it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Lord of the Rings.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, yeah.
You're going big.
No. I don't want to live in shit and squalor. No. I want showers. I want modern convenience.
There you go. Star Trek it is. Well, the next one you may struggle with too. Go ahead, Doug.
It's a twofer here. So
there's no such thing as rapid fire with me.
Yeah. And that's okay. We like it.
It's fine. It's good. It's fun.
Which superhero do you admire the most, and what villain do you find the most compelling?
This is more of a character study.
Yeah.
Probably Magneto for the villain. Just
good.
He's a really well written villain.
Yeah,
I
his
like the
origin
villain that's
story is pretty good. Yeah.
Well, not just the good origin story and stuff, but the villain that you can empathize with. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the revenge story and Last of Us 2 earlier. It's like, take the Thanos approach where it's like, all right, I can empathize with you, but in the end, you're doing the wrong thing.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
I get it, but you're wrong.
You're taking the wrong course of action, or you're going about it the wrong way or whatever. So that's why, and also Magneto's just like, you mean I have the ability to affect any magnetized metal at any strength of magnetization that I want at any point in time? Yeah, that's like
pretty powerful.
That's
I don't know. Good. Yeah, you have to go into like Scarlet Witch territory or something like that to like go beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of thing. So that is a villain. I think he is the villain. The superhero, I don't know. I like the idea of Superman, but at the same time, like, again, how real are we getting here? Because like you said, he always holds back. And then you see these analyses of like, well, what if Superman actually threw a punch at the speed of light? What would happen? A nuclear explosion that would destroy the world. It's like, okay, that's not good either. You don't want to have that in your back pocket, right? You don't want to be responsible for that in your back pocket. That's not good. That's a bad thing as well. So I don't know. I also thought about like, you guys ever see the movie Jumper?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
That power is pretty cool, right? The ability to just teleport wherever you've been or whatever you can visualize. That's a really interesting one that I've always thought about. So I'll stick with that.
Okay, like it. Okay. Next one, we've beat this to death, but we still want to know. Artificial intelligence, when you think of the future, will it be Star Trek or Skynet?
It'll be Skynet. It'll be Skynet beaming Star Trek into all of our brains as it holds us captured. That's what it's going to be.
That's funny.
It's going to be both. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. Is
that your cat, Doug?
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to them in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. I haven't fed our pets either. I'm sure he's sitting outside the door, going to be meowing in a minute here. I don't know. I don't see it 100% as all doom and gloom, where it's like, yeah, it's scary to think about that. Would it become Skynet and would it do all these things? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It
can be what you hope it to be too.
At this point in time, there's the majority of people on the planet are not
naysaying. Yeah.
Well, they're not stupid enough to put the control of human life into it, right? They're not. I don't hear people talking about, like, sure, you think about like, well, what if it could do judge duties or something like that? It's like, okay, but a human's still got to oversee that damn shit, right? Because there's something about it being impartial, maybe. Well, if it can be, an LLM is only as impartial as the data you feed it. But if you were to make like a true sentient, if it was a true sentient AI that at least understood the values of like life and respect and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't Skynet, you would at least hope like its goal is the betterment of everything in the universe. And that's like, okay, that's like an Isaac Asimov kind of.
I was going to say that you're right there with me. That's Asimov rules. So that's why they were built in there. It was to solve that.
I could see that, but then there's also enough greedy people, and I don't know. I have some really interesting, like, not for this podcast, I have really interesting theories on like society and how humanity forms and like why things happen. It's like, why is it always a certain percentage of the population psychopathic? Like, and I don't mean like they're murderers. I mean like they don't have the ability to feel empathy. So, and it's something like, it's a pretty high estimate. I want to say like 20%, like 15 to 20% of the population.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it's consistent, right?
Yeah. Why?
What outside thing is causing that consistency? Because if it wasn't consistency, it would grow with evolution or whatever. But the actual ratio has always been 20%. It's not like going up or going down.
Is this where you get into simulation theory?
No, not simulation theory. More like, I mean, you could. That some people take it there. Me, it was
more
the
like outside influence. I was wondering. That's why.
Oh, sure. But I'm wondering if it's more beyond that. I'm wondering if it's something like we're made up of particles, right? We're all made up of particle physics and all this kind of stuff. Particle physics and the universe and the laws of the universe operate under very, from what we found out, they have their laws and stuff. Well, what's to say that we aren't an extension of them and that our behavior isn't derived in some capacity of like, okay, due to a complex system, it just you look at the individual and you're like, that can't be the case because we have free will and all this other stuff. But when you start looking at systems of people, you're like, well, wait a minute, why is it like you can see people fill vacuums, like vacuums always get filled in certain capacities, like just like it would in an actual environment. Like, is that 20% of psychopaths a corrective mechanism in some way, shape, or form that is akin to something in particles? In particle physics, how like when an atom is formed with electrons and neutrons and quarks and all that kind of stuff.
What you remind me of? You've read a book by Blake Crouch called Dark Matter. Have you heard of that? They actually did a TV show, but there was a book.
Yeah.
But the idea behind it is exactly that, where there's quantum physics, particles all connected, there's different multiverses, and there's so many iterations, and it's all a balance, almost like ecosystem with the particles and the quantum entanglement. And so it's kind of like you're dancing on that. So
I wouldn't go as far as a multiverse. I'm not to say it's not a thing. There's plenty of evidence, but I'm just wondering if there's something higher that governs our behavior at a societal level. Because when you also think about things like when we are rational and we can have conversations, but once, like, if we're in a big group of people, and specifically that group turns into a mob, and our emotions get turned on, like, any one of us is susceptible to becoming an agent of the mob. And later on, you'll be like, why the fuck did I do that? That was so stupid of me.
You know what? It's so funny you should say. I just read this fascinating piece about the WWE, and there was this former wrestler saying that they were just doing behind the scenes stuff. And they're saying, I saw so many times there would be a character that they were trying to get over with the crowd, and they would go out there and the crowd just wouldn't react, or they just wouldn't clap, nothing. So what they would do is in the arenas, they would pump in fake cheering. It was all simulated. And and then what happens is just what you said, the crowd would go, oh, I should be clapping. And the next thing you know, after the course of 2 to 3 weeks of this, all of a sudden they're cheering on their own, and that character is now popular in their universe. It's a psychological, people go along with the herd mentality.
So to me, it's like evaluating why that exists. Because you can say on the individual level, we have emotions and we want the ability. Yes, we have emotions. We want the ability to belong. We want the ability to feel affirmed. We want the ability to be a part of the tribe. Okay. Have you noticed that it causes the exact same behaviors in the percentages of people when you zoom out and just consider it as a numbers game and looking at how everyone behaves? It's like something has got, like, it's like a swarm or a hive mentality. Like, there's something in there that, like, who's to say that behavior isn't there? Because when you look at humans at an outside level, we literally are forming clusters we are atoms or quarks, and our social interactions are that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my silly theory.
I like it. That's awesome.
I gotta write a book about it, a sci-fi book.
Yeah, you should write a book about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, you get the last one here, man. We'll bring it on home.
Looking back through all the consoles, everything, what is your favorite video game console boot up menu screen? I know that's a long question there, but favorite boot up menu screen, yeah.
Little chimes like the GameCube would make, or Sega, little like Sega CD, all those kinds of different ones.
The PlayStation One sound, all that stuff. There's the Xbox One sound. I don't know. It's like, I don't think the Nintendo 8-bit had one. I think if you turned it on without a game in it, it was just a blue screen.
Yeah, I don't think it had one. I
don't correctly. Think so.
So it was all based on the game that was in it, which is interesting. Hearing the Sega was kind of cool because my friends had. I didn't have a Genesis. I had the Super Nintendo or whatever, or just regular Nintendo. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's. Oh crap. Can we pause for a second? I need to answer. Yeah. I need to answer this. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll pause. Yeah, you're good.
Hello? Never mind, he hung up. Sorry, it's about my car. My car is in the middle of getting, it needs some repair, and that was the tech. And he finally called me back at 8:30. I'm like, what the hell?
Wow.
Maybe it was a butt dial. Anyways.
No worries.
Favorite console boot? That's a good question. Oh my goodness. Because, like, my formative memories are pre-boot screens. So it's Atari. Yeah. It's Atari. I was lucky enough where me and a group of friends, we had the trifecta. So I had the Intellivision, someone else had the Atari, and someone else had a ColecoVision. So we would all just bounce.
Oh, yeah. So you were bouncing around, yeah.
Yeah. So we would bounce to whoever's house to play whatever we want. And, like, my fondest memories are obviously of the Intellivision growing up because that's what I had, and I had a whole bunch of them. So it wasn't. I guess a lack of a boot up screen would be my favorite because all the consoles I played back then, there was no such thing as a boot up screen. It didn't. And you know what? I'm going to say a lack of a boot up screen because those fucking consoles booted up instantly and they were freaking great. And now it's like I have to turn this damn thing on and I got to wait for the shittest logo. It's got to load the OS and then it's got to check for an update and it's got to say, oh, fuck it.
Yeah, that's good. I guess. Or you could say, since you were into PC, like a good post, meaning if it was booting because you got the beep, there was no problem, so you didn't have to troubleshoot it, right?
Dude, my dad worked in computers way early on, and I had no idea what he gave me until later on in life. But he horse trades for things like we're talking back in he worked for Zenith, like he did Zenith, and he traded and got an 8086 with a full height 10 megabyte hard drive in it.
That was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah, I'm like, that thing was a $10,000 computer he horse traded for, and that was my first computer experience.
Yeah,
that's what I learned, like way back on like DOS.
Oh yeah, that's how I got my start. My dad was an electrician. Yeah. He would fix computers on the side, and
perfect. I remember,
like he would bring in I remember our first one was a Tandy 1000, which was an 8088. And then I loved that thing. And then from there, it just progressed. I remember the first time, like, he brought in a 286, and it was a CJ, had 4 colors, and I played Abrams Battle Tank on it. And I was just, dude, I was hooked at that point. And then we had a Commodore at one point, 64 128.
And an Amiga.
So, yep. And then about the time I started to come to age, I was a teenager in the 90s. And so I was really into PC games, and so like I was saving up money for we had like a 386, but it was an SX, but I needed the DX coprocessor.
Because you needed that extra 2x multiplier.
Yeah, I wanted to play Wing Commander and saving it for a Sound Blaster so I can actually hear them talk. And so yes, man, I hear you. PC gaming is in my roots as well. We had a lot of the consoles. My brother was heavy into the console playing. He was older than me, and he was into the consoles and JRPGs and that sort of thing. But PCs were always kind of where I cut my teeth on video gaming. Is how I fell into technology, actually. Yeah. It was one of the things.
Like I said, it was between that and because technically my first computer was a TI 99.
Oh, Texas Instrument,
yeah, that was my first one, and then
we had one of those too.
Yeah. And then my dad got me the 8086 later. But then that's when all of a sudden I got into Intellivision when that came out because it was the start of the whole thing. Also arcade. Honestly, beyond that, even if you go to the boot up screen, it would be the arcades because
that's true.
I grew up. I was a corn op kid like the whole time. Like there was an arcade just up the road from there was an arcade within biking distance just up north of my apartment complex where I live. It's just like freaking any 80s movie you'd see where it's like I'm gonna get on my bike and ride down this dirt road and up the parking lot, and now I'm gonna go take the $5 in quarters that I snuck from my mom, and I'm gonna go stay here for the next 2 hours and play Tempest and
send all these.
That was me. I guess that is my formative experience. Was that?
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. Well, Benson, you have been so generous with your time. This has been. I have to tell you, and I'm not just saying this. I mean this. Like when Doug and I started this podcast, one of my all-time dreams was to talk to somebody like you in the industry because I'm such a fan, and the things that you have worked on, I can tell you, it has touched our lives. We love it. We're super fans. Massive respect for the career and the time that you put into it, and then what you're trying to do now to make it better.
Appreciate it.
So huge kudos to you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, answering my cold email.
That's fine.
So yeah. So I do appreciate that.
I got my start in making video games. Right, it was a cold email, but it just sounded more like a.
I know. I started.
At least you didn't come off as like a candy salesman in a windowless van. So yeah,
Doug. I started off with, I am not a bot. This is not AI. And then he responded back, if you were an AI, that's what they'd say. And I'm like, damn it.
But I was joking. That was just me joking back.
No, it was true. I'm like, that's pretty stupid. But usually I send those out and people just ignore it. So when you responded back, I was so excited. And we really, really appreciate you coming onto the show. And it's just been, I hope you've had fun because this has been awesome for us.
I love it. Like I said, it's always fun to have conversations like this and talk about where the industry is going and where we hope it will go. And ways to potentially fix it and stuff. There's so much still to talk about, but I know there's only so much you can fit in.
Well, so we can have you back on, man. If you're willing, we'll have you back on.
Always.
So all right, man.
Awesome.
That sounds great. Well, everybody, we're going to close this episode out. Thank you so much to Benson. Oh, Benson, if people want to check out your company, do you have an Instagram? Like, where can they find you and just read up on your philosophies and...
it's not the biggest of websites, but either find me on LinkedIn or you go to my website. It's www.unhandledexceptions.io.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can see my company there. And then, like I said, LinkedIn is I'm writing articles and using LinkedIn as the platform to publish them. I'm getting it going because it is a young experience.
It's a young company.
Of going into consulting. So.
Perfect. Well, we wish you luck, and hopefully we'll have you back on, and we really appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Thank you
All right,
very much.
everybody. You take care. All right.